Well, hey everyone, I'm Nick and welcome to Sci-Finatics Live for the 4th episode of 2025. It's great to have you all here. And as always, we have a fantastic panel of Star Trek aficionados to talk everything that's been going on in the world of Star Trek. My colleague David joins me as always. Welcome, David.
Hey everyone, nice to be here.
And these guys have been on the show before. They're friends of the channel. It's an absolute pleasure to have Brian from the Popcast. Welcome, Brian.
Hey. Good to see you guys.
And
Thanks
it's
for having me.
always a pleasure to have Dr. Trek himself, Larry Nemecek, on the show. Welcome, Larry.
Hey, good day. Thanks for having me, Nick. It's always fun.
It's always a pleasure. Oh, it's always a pleasure, Larry. So basically today we're going to have a bit of a rundown as to what's going on in Star Trek. We're going to go through season 3 of Strange New Worlds so far, get our respective thoughts and impressions as to how the season is shaping up, what we thought of the first 4 episodes. And we're also going to take a run through of Starfleet Academy, the trailer for that dropped at Comic-Con last weekend, just what everybody's thinking and feeling about how Starfleet Academy might be as the newest entry into the Star Trek franchise that will be hitting our TV screens in early 2026. So for starters, let's I guess we might as well pick it up from the beginning of the season. Hegemony Part 1 kicked off the season for Strange New Worlds. What was everybody's thoughts on how that episode kind of picked up where we left off from last season and started off the new season? Who wants to throw in there with the first impressions of that?
I think I might be the negative guy here. It felt like go, no conclusion, and within like a few minutes they concluded it with some far away, insane idea that really ended really quickly, and it felt like all this fluff to get to a conclusion that didn't really make a whole lot of sense. I mean, it was fun, but it didn't make a whole lot of sense narratively. That was my thoughts on the for them.
I have continued to hold ever since we first started developing the Gorn. Akiva made this, I guess, his chart of Little Shop of Horrors of topics he wants to tackle. And I keep holding my breath about the way and I'm like clinging to my headcanon shreds of making even though it's 66, my thing about, well, that Gorn with Kirk was a Gorn captain. And so their elders get slow, but it's like an esteem thing. So everything we've seen since, including the one on Enterprise, they're like, they start off manic because they're so competitive as babies and Gornlings. Anyway, I tried to maintain that, and it was great on the horror end, and it's been interesting to see them developing the Gorn as long as they're not bumping into something else. It was fine. I was fine. It wrapped up the first one. Somebody got their Gorn horror fetish out of the way. They keep playing with the little bits of what's coming. The other episodes to come play more with. And it's fast. It's like, okay, we're gonna get to this. I guess we'll talk about it. But this thing they have about they're determined to do a different, genre each week. 26 episode season is cool, but when every single episode 100%. Is a different genre, it's kind of like, are you gonna ever do Star Trek?
Right. Yeah. It's like when you do a 26 episode season, you can get away with a couple of quirky episodes, but like, 3 or 4 quirky episodes out of a season of 10 is a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
David, your thoughts?
I think from my side, look, I did enjoy the episode as a conclusion, but I did feel a bit let down by it because, I mean, you get a bit like, I guess, canon locked by just going with the Gorn choice. And, I think that sort of limits your options a bit. I thought the end of it was like, I could see where it was kind of going with the CMEs, I think it was, or the coronal mass ejections and the relationship with light, and also Scotty's transponder tech. But the sleeping thing just felt like we're kind of getting a bad version of the best of both worlds end of that with let's put the Borg to sleep. And I thought that was a bit of a cop out. It was building up like, potentially a bit of a conflict with Starfleet and the Gorn fleet. And I just felt like the rug was pulled from underneath us, and it was not very satisfying from that aspect. I think if they'd gone with a different type of race that could have maybe ended within the 5 seasons of Strange New Worlds. That might have been a better way to go. There's probably be some ways to do that, but you're locked in when you've got Cannon with the Gorn like this. So that was just my overall take on it.
Yeah, I completely agree in terms of it all sort of seeming to be wrapped up and glossed over quite quickly. And yeah, like I 100% agree with the connection to Best of Both Worlds Part 2 in terms of I kind of feel like there's a few moments this season where I'm going, hang on, are the writers on Strange New Worlds just copying the homework from past TNG writers? Because not only did that moment with the whole sleep data sleep, put the Borg to sleep, put the Gorn to sleep kind of parallel, I thought was just a bit too familiar. But obviously, again, I'll just very briefly jump forward to the holodeck episode where, La'an programmed the holodeck program to challenge La'an, not to challenge Amelia Moon, which was the reason why there was a confusion in that program, which was exactly the same as Geordi asking the computer to create the holodeck villain that could defeat Data, not the holodeck character that could defeat Sherlock Holmes.
Same exact thing. Yeah.
So that. So that to me, like, there's a few moments this season where it's going, hang on, are they just stealing the homework from past TNG writers here? Because there's just a few little commonalities between episodes that goes, hang on, this is a bit similar. This is I mean, I enjoyed the fact that the first episode started with a bang. It was action packed. I enjoyed that aspect of it. I thought that was great. I do agree with you, Larry, about the Gorn and you and how we connecting that to obviously original series Gorn and everything. And I actually have a theory about that. My theory about is this. that's my theory. Is that we've got we've got Marie Battelle obviously still infected with Gorn, the Gorn situation. They're going to basically say Mbenga has said, I'm going to just turn her into a Gorn human hybrid. This is my medical choice. Really? This is the solution? And it's all going to go horribly bad and not particularly work out particularly well. And ultimately, they're going to say, "Oh, we're going to have to abandon Battelle on some planet somewhere, and she'll become the Gorn that walks on 2 legs, the Gorn that doesn't have a tail."
Space bunny.
That's my
theory.
Not
do you like my Photoshop?
But by the time we got to shuttle for the third one, with that confrontation between Pike and Mbenga, my mind was going to this too. Yeah. The tailless Gorn. Yeah. Tailless Gorn.
Because if you look at that outfit that the Gorn's wearing, it's kind of a bit like a lady's dress that he's got on. And you put that, on a woman, it's like no judgments, but it's in the ballpark.
You anyway. Alien genderist, you? Yeah. No.
Get the throat lozenge ready for the.
I think the other thing that kind of struck me as a little bit sort of, I guess, convenient about that first episode of the season was that just a few too many things, like the fact that they managed to miraculously save every single one of the colonists by somehow beaming up, was it 250 people or something in the space of 5 seconds. It's like, really? Can the transporter do that? Can the transporter just lock onto 250 signatures and beam them up instantly? Like I would have almost liked them to say, yes, we've got away. The away team has made it back to the ship in a Gorn fighter, but unfortunately we're only able to save half of the colonists and 50% of them, unfortunately we couldn't save. But the fact that goes, hooray, we saved all of the colonists, we got our away team back, and everybody's very happy. It was
perfect ending.
It was like the most Greek episode ever. All that drama happened off screen, off stage.
Yeah.
I was like, really? We're not even going to have a couple of them straggle in or something? Anyway.
Yeah.
But they did lose a lot of colonists because, I mean, there was about 5,000 actually on Panassus Beta. And I think they must have been on dinner plates up until, I guess the Enterprise comes into the picture, because we ended up with about, 5,000, plus you had the Cayuga crew, who were probably mostly killed anyway in the destruction of the ship. And then they got several hundred out. So I'm guessing about 4.5K ended up on dinner plates or in refrigerators or larders of Gorn somewhere.
Or pods. Yeah.
Pods, yeah. For
slimy pods. So
yes,
I will do a shout out though. I think, and I've forgotten who the DP was. I thought it almost looked like first show of the season. We've had a year and a half to rest or whatever it was. Because the amount of time between filming, this was delayed. People talked about how long it was until, it's like, I'll see your best of both worlds summer and raise you nearly 2 years. Right. But I did think that there was some kind of somebody came at it with Chris Fisher was the director on this. He's the supervising director. I really did think they did a lot of stuff with like sliding, smeary camera angles and moments, and like Pike is in shock, and they're all in moments of when there was a weird moment. I wondered if it was going to be Lon getting into her genetic engineering, because there's that moment when she's the first one to come out of the pod, and she's looking around trying to figure, okay, like this is crisis. We're stuck on this far from home. I do have 3 or 4 allies. Are they alive? What can I do? What can I do? And she looks around. And then they do this kind of like camera shake, like it's an earthquake. And I was like, is she tapping an augment power here that she inherited from, great uncle Noonian or so? I don't know. But I mean, yeah. But, and then that's never been, maybe I just dreamed that. You know what I'm talking about? That moment? And it's like, what was that about? Because then she just goes and gets everybody out of their bags and they go on with the thing. And it was never referenced again. And I thought, well, is either that's a sleeper thing for way on down the season, or that was just him trying to be wacky with a camera move. I don't know, but I did think that the music, I liked like it was very leaning into old school Trekking with like trumpets and the bongos in Adventure Hour and some things. So there's some like production bits that I've enjoyed, but there's times I'm like white knuckling my chair, wondering what they're gonna do with
do next. Yeah.
Watch and see.
Yeah, one thing I did love about that first episode is the production design and everything for the look of the interior of the Gorn ship. I think that looked great. Although Dredd got a message from Dredd who says, I'd like to know how the Gorn with those clumsy taloned hands built ships. Yes, they got those enormous long fingers. That must have been a struggle. That's a very good point. Thanks, Dreadwolf. Cheers.
Was it?
But also just on that visual,
the Gorn fighter. That's one thing I appreciated, was making them look technical. But yeah, you're right. You go, how do they do all? Obviously they do, but it was good to see a Gorn fighter in his little fighter plane chasing them. Like they had right. It was this one, not
that was
yeah.
This one, yeah.
and also the fly into the ship too. Like when they went into the destroyer with the fighter view, and it was kind of very similar to the beginning of First Contact with Picard, how he's having the nightmare and he's going inside the Borg cube, and you're sort of seeing the cavernous interior. It was kind of a bit like that, and it was really cool to see, and just how large those freaking destroyers are internally.
Yeah, enormous. Although I would have liked to see the moment when I fly the ship Ortegas manages to fly the Gorn fighter out of the mothership. Now, obviously, Ortegas is an amazing pilot. She kicks ass in the pilot department, but the fact that she had one hand half melted off from Gorn digestive fluid or whatever, she'd been impaled. Speaking about the taloned hands that the Dredd mentioned or whatever just before, where she basically got turned into a human bowling ball by the Gorn impaling her in the middle of the torso, and then she still manages to fly the fighter out of the Gorn mothership. And she doesn't even bump it on anything. I guess, yes, she's a good pilot, but I would have liked to see a little bit more of an erratic flying style with her kind of bumping into a few things on the way out. Yeah.
Yes.
Like for example, I don't know. I'm just to cross genres for a second. In the first episode of Andor season 2, when Cassian Andor steals the TIE Advanced or whatever it was from the shipyard, and he flies it out of the planet, he's crashing it into everything. He's bumping it into the sides of the mountain, and you know, rocks are falling off and everything. Like, you know, it's not. There's a little bit of a learning curve there, you know. I would have liked to see, you know, a bit of a flying style like that from Ortegas when she flies out of the mothership. And that would have also been a good opportunity, I think, you know, that she's crashing it into a few things. And one of the other, you know, away team members could have gone, hang on, come on, Erica. Like, you know, I thought you were meant to be a good pilot or something, you know, and she could have said, yeah, can you give me a break, guys? I've only got one hand and I got my guts are hanging out here all over the console, you know, cut me some slack or something like that. Did that kind of seem a little bit implausible for you guys? Yeah.
Well, it made
like
me
Starbuck in BSG, you know, a little bit where she gets into that organic Cylon fighter and has a similar experience. But, you know, she's having to learn a new tech and she's also injured. So it did seem stretching credibility.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it made me think of the DS9 guys stealing the Jem'Hadar ship, Archer's bunch stealing the it's in the pilot or into season 1 of the Suliban cell ship. I mean, there's been times when they've done that, and I almost thought this because she can be a great fighter, but if she can't read the interfaces and know the control layout, but apparently they designed this to where it was very tactile, and they had the holo controls, almost like the La Sirena. So it was almost like if you were quasi humanoid, you could fly it you didn't have to. It wasn't so technical as it was organic somehow with a mind link or something, and she gets in because I'm thinking, what else? And yes, and she's half dead. So it was like, oh, that's how the Gorn fly their ships. And so lucky thing that this is who they're stealing a ship from, because it's an interface that maybe she can get by just by feeling her way to what she wants to do. I don't know, but they did. You know, they had those little holographic control interfaces hovering around her when she's flying. It's
exactly. And the other thing that occurred to me as well, from what you're talking about, in terms of getting off the ship, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but this was the extent of La'an's ability to read Gorn: search, hunt, and weak.
Yes.
Yet, she manages to somehow read all of this code, complex Gorn language and information to work out. Oh, firstly, they just happened to walk past this sort of random pod, and they go, oh, well, I've now got all of the transporter codes off this computer. It's like, hang on, is this the Gorn transporter room they're in? Because they just seem to be wandering through like all these sort of biopods and biosacks and everything, and they come across this console. So, well, I've now got all the transporter codes. Like, I guess I could have bought it a little bit more if they'd actually, you know, in their travels to get to the shuttle bay, they actually came through a space which looked vaguely like a Gorn transporter room, but it was just sort of this random console in the middle of the thingo. And then she goes, oh, I can read all this Gorn language, and I've just suddenly found all of the transporter codes and everything. It's like, really? I kind of thought your extent for reading Gorn was hunt, weak, strong, you know, very, very, very basic, rudimentary understanding of a few glyphs, you know. Did that kind of strike you guys as a little bit too much?
A little bit.
Yeah. What episode was the weak strong? Was your first clip there? Well, how far back was that?
Yeah, that was in season 1. I forget the name of the episode. It was the one where they had all those colonists. Yeah, Memento Mori.
Okay,
yeah, I think it was like episode three or 4.
My only saving grace headcanon for, because it struck me too. It's like, what? She can read it, much less understand their tech and their coordinate system and their this. And I thought, well, since this all regurgitated again, the trauma came back up in Memento Mori, and since then, and they've been banging heads, I'm just going to say she's become obsessed with studying up on everything known about whatever that is. She's become obsessed with it, and that's the only, you know, she's the point person on things Gorn. I
Yeah.
guess. I don't know.
That's the problem with the show right now is you have to inject a bunch of headcanon in it to sort of explain it to yourself because none of that's put on screen. None of it is.
Good point.
If there were only 16 more episodes in the season.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's kind of like, as you say, Brian, how many times am I sort of thinking when I'm watching this season, this would work well in the context of a much longer season, but unfortunately in the context of a shorter season, things are feeling like, as I mentioned before, maybe we've got a few too many quirky episodes out of a season of 10. If we're talking out of a season of 24 or 26, then obviously a few quirky episodes is neither here nor there because the season can absorb it. But it's also
like the way it
I think
always
we're
was.
also absolutely, yeah. And I think it's also, apparent when certain things feel rushed. Some of these moments we're talking about, like them resolving the end of hegemony very quickly, or there's a few other things that have been happening this season so far in terms of Spock's relationship stuff that just seems to be playing out what seems like very quickly, where if we had 24 episodes in a season, you could more plausibly spread that out over the course of, say, 10 episodes where it kind of feels a little bit more organic or a bit more natural. But instead we've got Spock jumping, from relationship to relationship in the space of, 2 or 3 episodes, which kind of does feel a little bit quick, but I kind of get the reason they do that is because there's only 10 episodes in the whole season. So everything's got to be fast tracked in a kind of unauthentic way.
It's gone in 60 seconds,
It really is.
Yeah. Well, some things I have, it's weird with Spock and his girlfriend of the week now, but I actually have it because at some point in the bigger picture, when this first started and the way they went down this, it's like, I know Akiva's doing his best to kind of like throw out different timelines and get away from a set timeline and go timey-wimey. But some things, like in the beginning, I'm like, okay, they're going to have these characters and these legacy characters. Well, at some point, Chapel's going to have a Corby thing, and they're going there, however that plays out. And and who knows about T'Pring? Oh, this is how we're going to parse that. Okay, and it's still there. And but Pike and Battelle, I'm waiting for the Cartwright wives to settle in here. On Bonanza, the Cartwright boys all would have a girlfriend who would never survive the episode.
Well, he already established Battelle will be dropped off on a planet somewhere, and she will turn into a Gorn.
Yeah.
I'm starting to worry about. I'm worrying about they're going to lose La'an by the end of the series, and if they don't at least finally talk about that damn last name of hers, I'm going to be pissed.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Do you know what? I almost find when I'm watching the show, I have more emotional investment in La'an and Ortegas because I don't know what's going to happen to them. I'm worried for them. I kind of find, what's going to happen to La'an? What's going to happen to Ortegas? I'm emotionally invested in these characters because I'm watching the zombie episode in episode 3 with Mbenga and Pike being chased by zombies. And it's like, I know they're going to be fine. I know they're not going to die. I know they're not going to get bitten by zombies because we know where Pike's going to end up. We know what's going to happen to Mbenga. He's going to end up as beta shift, doctor on the Enterprise under Kirk. So everyone's going to be fine. I think it's inherently one of those issues, I guess, that is a drawback with doing a prequel show where where half the characters are going to end up. So when you do episodes that have jeopardy in them, it removes a large chunk of that jeopardy because they're going to be fine.
That's a problem with prequels, dude. That's the biggest problem with prequels. That's why I actually do not like prequels, because I already know how the story goes, and if you don't make the story about how they got there really compelling, then there's less of a hook for me because I already know what happens to the characters. I do not feel the characters are threatened in any way. I don't feel like my Mbenga's all of a sudden going to get, I think I said that name wrong, hurt or something. We know what happens to him. We know what happens to every one of these characters. The only characters in peril is Khan.
Well, there's life and death peril and then emotional
Ortegas.
peril. And I'm fine
Yeah.
with because Mbenga leaves for some reason and comes back. And that's a mystery and they can play with that. And Chapel's going to make
Yeah, that's
a loop.
interesting.
I mean, I've been okay with that, but but I'm with you. I don't mind prequels, but I can see there's like prequel legacy characters and prequel times. To me, Star Trek is this big now multi-century franchise, and there's all these unexplored holes, and some of them are before Kirk and Kirk and Spock is the thing that sold the rest of the franchise, but they've developed things before, things after, and to me, it's all, I guess I'm a prophet or something. It's not linear to me. It's like you can go here and do that, but you have to be halfway smart and know the franchise. I mean, to me, like the book authors did it for years, went back and forth in places and did compelling, some not so compelling, but a lot of compelling stories. And if you get the right people to do the damn shows, it shouldn't be an issue. But yeah, there's something inevitable about, Pike is going to live until the other thing happens. So,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I am interested to know what Mbenga does to get fired as the chief medical officer. That intrigues
or
me.
he leaves of his own or whatever it is.
Well, I think it's the monster comes out. I think it's the monster that's going to come out, that this monster that he's sort of suppressing, and that probably goes into the other episodes a bit. And this thing with the Klingon ambassador, where maybe that comes to light, and maybe Pike can hide it, but with the Illyrian episode with Una, it didn't stay down for long, although she basically told them what she was anyway. But yeah, I think that could be a way of where the monster gets released, and then he has to step down as CMO, and then he probably comes back into the thing later on.
Yeah, that's one of the things I'm fascinated to see, and I was curious to see when they started in the pilot with Spock and T'Pring. It was like, oh, they're going to show what happened to them, which they only got like a couple of. Again, if we'd had 26 episodes a year, it would have been cooler. But you get one, and half of the time those are being zany episodes where a truth has to come through. But anyway,
zany and wild.
Indeed.
Oh, what about the ending scene of this first one? A lot of people seem to be riled up when Pike walks in and sees Marie in the bed, and he goes, "Okay, Dad, okay." And it was a throwback to him talking about his dad being old school religious or whatever. And some people seem to get upset at that. And I was like, well, to me, that was just showing him giving up his, his modern humanistic Federation guys because he was that emotionally upset. And I know it threw a lot of people, but that was established that he came from a family that was old school that way.
Yeah.
Yes. No, I had no issue with that. I thought, and it wasn't like, I think, and it was so quick too. The fact that he knelt down and he barely got the first two words out of the Lord's Prayer or whatever before Batel woke up. So it's not like they, they had him there, reeling off the whole thing. It was like literally just that one little moment. He knelt down, he started it, and then she wakes up. So it was brief enough to kind of make the point, but not labor it, I suppose.
It was just kind of like that. We're showing how at the end of his rope he is.
Yeah. and I think I think you do genuinely feel, there's genuine, emotion and feeling there between the two. He obviously, I think you almost, more than any character on the show, get that connection and that relationship, even though he's kind of reluctant to say it. You kind of feel like there's a few moments where, Pike sort of, where you see him choke up, or you see him, struggle to find the words to describe his relationship with Marie. He doesn't necessarily call her his girlfriend or his partner or whatever. He just sort of starts to kind of almost say something, and then he'll say, "Oh, she means a lot to me," or whatever, because he's kind of reluctant to kind of put a label on the relationship almost.
Yeah. Well, this season, I don't know what it is, but all these shows, whether they're comedy or drama or tragedy or whatever, hate, anger, sadness, it's like Anson he's just like putting himself out there. And from his face to the rest of his body, it's almost like he's being a gymnast or an athlete or something. He's just really throwing himself in, and it's weird. He's been like contorting his face more than I'd seen him do the first couple of seasons, but not in a cartoony, caricature way, in a way that fits the moment. And I was just like, oh wow, he's really going for it here on some of these.
He's running the gamut of emotions.
Yeah. But I mean, it's the physicality behind it's not just his emotions, it's his throwing his body into it. There's just moments where I'm like, wow, does his face bend that way? But not in a cartoony way, not in a make me laugh way. It was like, wow.
Genuine.
Yeah, genuine.
And speaking of throwing himself into it, even I also wonder as well, like that moment in the zombie episode or whatever, when he found out what Mbenga's medical plans were for Marie, and he just takes his backpack off and just hurls it across the room, and it smashes into something. I saw that moment. I thought, I wonder whether that was scripted or whether that was just sort of like an ad-libbed moment from him. That absolute kind of what the hell are you guys planning on doing here, and just that kind of I thought that moment had a emotional weight to it as well.
Yeah.
Are
we jumping that one?
Yeah, I was wondering about that.
We're jumping around. Let's talk about episode 2. Let's talk about episode 2, the Trelane episode. Even though they didn't obviously say the name Trelane in the episode, we're obviously calling him Trelane. He's been confirmed that he's Trelane. He's definitely Trelane. What did you guys think of episode 2 and of Rhys Darby's portrayal of Trelane in that episode?
I liked it. I liked him. And I like the Easter egg at the end with the connection to Q. It's cool.
Yeah, are we all cool with the fact that they've now kind of confirmed that Trelane is part of the Q continuum? Is everyone happy with that establishment of canon?
I'm cool with it. Most people always assumed Trelane was like a type of Q anyways, so.
Or the moment Farpoint aired, people went, well, that was just Trelane again when they saw Q.
Right.
Yeah.
So
it was also
makes sense.
Sorry, Brian.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I was just it was also cleverly done in the sense that Trelane appeared to the characters in the show as a different entity, not the Trelane that we've sort of seen in Squire of Gothos. And I guess that then, with Spock having met him before, kind of, made it sort of explained the canon around that. Otherwise, you guys go, I've seen you before in that episode of Strange New Worlds, yeah? Yeah. So
that whole thing, I mean, I saw that happening, and that's the only part of this. It's like, okay, well, if you're going to go there, fine. It's a little like Picard tying up the supervisors and the travelers together, It's like, okay, well, if we're going to do this, just tell me, please, you put thought into it, and somebody didn't just throw darts at a plot board, and go, oh, let's put this together. So if it's going to be fine, that's fine. And then to hear them later on, again, not headcanon, but after show episodes, all Akiva and Kirsten and David Reed all said his name was not said, not to be coy, but because we were trying to keep canon, and the whole thing of his appearance appearing differently to different people, so Spock can be fresh to it later on. And I was like, okay. What got me though was really intriguing, and I just started to watch. I won't talk about it, but I just started to watch episode 5 here on the screener. But there's a throwaway at the. I mean, the wedding is funny. It's funny for what it is, and we know it's alternate, timelines and realities, and it's just about how much are they going to get in and wallow around in each one and do what are they going to do with it. But when they finally break it at the end and they're coming out of it, and Trelane's throwing his tantrum before Dad shows up. And he has a throwaway. He's talking about Corby. I don't know if it's when he's made him the bulldog or not. Very Q-like. He says they made a whole point about bringing in Corby, which we haven't talked about yet. And they made this whole story about their little romantic get-together on Navia 9 or whatever the planet is. And then at the very end, Trelane is throwing his tantrum, and he's talking to his dad, I think. And he says something about, I met him I saw him when he was digging around on the old homeworld. And I was like, wait, is Navia 9 the original homeworld of the Q Continuum / Trelanians? Are they all really Navians?
Well, that's what it sounds like.
Anyway, I mean, I appreciated that. That was
a good point.
They do drop some things in occasionally, almost like they're seeing if anybody's paying attention. But
yeah. Yes.
it was harmless in the end. They didn't bash any. They weren't building a china shop with continuity. So I didn't think.
And look, and a few people have sort of said in the comments of my review for episode 2, oh, well, what about the fact that Trelane uses technology? He can't be a Q because Q's use technology. And I thought, well, think about it from this point of view. What if Q's used technology like a bit of a play toy, like a bit of like parents will give a kid, an infant, like a little play center with little things that go squeak and things that, bells that ring and things that go crunch and whistle and everything as a bit of a means of, developing their, physical skills or whatever, or entertainment. I thought, well, I guess if he's meant to be a baby Q or a child Q, it could, using technology in the Squire of Gothos episode could have just been like the Q's version of, we use technology just to kind of as a bit of a play thing for the kiddies or whatever, the kiddie Q's,
or was he putting all that on for Kirk and Spock?
Yeah, you could also go that road as well.
With that, yeah.
Well,
the thing that got the only bottom line here, and people have just said, oh well, they're just not linear, is okay, if that's his dad, then is Trelane Q Jr. that John Delancey's son played at the end of Voyager, and we're just like, time is meaningless here, and they just bop around? Because he says it with these 8,020 or whatever it is years old, solar years old. So as long as when they throw it out and say, oh well, it's not linear, he and Susie Plaxton have the kid conceived in the Delta Quadrant, and then you see the kid older, and this is him way older. What does it mean?
Yeah, I mean, isn't there a moment in that episode where they go off for a bit and come back? In that Voyager episode where Q goes off with Q Jr. or whatever. At that point, they could go back to Strange New Worlds, do the stuff there, go to original series, do the stuff there with Kirk and whatnot, and then come back to Voyager again, and that all plays out, in that kind of order, non-linear order. I guess that could make sense as well.
I think he left the kid on the Voyager with Janeway to sort of guide him. I think that was the point of that episode, wasn't it? Yeah. Yeah. But I love the beginning part where you had that 50 Shades of Awkward, where Spock is sort of anticipating the arrival of Chapel. Oh, who's this? Oh, really? Where are you asleep? Do you need quarters? Oh my God, that was like, Jesus. Yeah. And my feeling towards Chapel, like after we'd sort of boosted her up a few weeks in a video, it sort of came plummeting down. Like, what have you done, girl? Seriously, you've just completely turned things around a bit. To poor Kirk, poor
Spock.
But it was. Actually, speaking of Kirk, we can't see Kirk in any episodes with Corby, can we? Because they only first met in What Little Girls Are Made Of, because he made a point, I think, of saying...
he's not really on the Enterprise. He keeps finding an excuse to be in there with them. Yeah. So there's that.
You've got to keep them apart.
The thing with the legacy characters, Brian, you were talking about, the thing I think where that hits most with me is Chapel and Spock, because as they go through their soap opera, it's like in the back of my mind, I come back around to, and I know it was the part of the time and Major would do whatever they wanted to do, but she winds up being moony-eyed with him after Corby self-destructs as an android, and then it turns into the unrequited love thing for so long. And then it finally dies down, I think, midway through the series. But for the first season and a half, she's throwing herself at him again. And I'm like, wow, Christine, now that I'm watching all this, and it's like, no wonder he's like, but Spock, I think Spock is going to like go through all these things and just decide ultimately that he's just going to go pure stoicism on his Vulcan side and not do anything. And then, later on, his buddies are Kirk and McCoy. So they didn't see any of this. And Pike and Una are all out of the picture.
Right.
It's like, you should have seen Spock when he was on our ship. He was going through all the ladies on the crew. And
Chapel is part of this, and she just carries it inside. And Uhura they have taken pains to kind of keep her out of most of the, a Chapel confides in Ortegas more than she does Uhura, and Uhura is just kind of like a baby. So I don't think she's bogged down by a lot of these melodramas that affect Spock later on, because they had their little moment that the Kelvin universe picked up on and blew wide open. Anyway, every time Chapel does something now, I just kind of go, oh,
really?
Aren't you gonna? He's gonna remember that 6 years from now. He's gonna remember that.
Yeah, because obviously she made the point. It's like, oh well, let's split up, let's break up and see where it happens. Let's just take a little break, and and then obviously within the space of a short 3 months, obviously she's hooked up with this other bloke, and it's like, hang on, didn't we say we were just gonna, So yeah, there's a few little eyebrow raise moments there from Spock that you can really think, okay, and I kind of get
Spock. Sorry, you go, Nick.
Go on, David. No, you go.
I was just going to. I guess we're sort of seeing the Spock now that's sort of before that stoic, as you mentioned, Larry, that stoic Vulcan. That stoic logical Spock that we kind of see in the original series. Perhaps these are the formative moments when he is a bit more in touch with his human side. It's getting drawn out by Chapel, and then he gets burned by it, and it's like, I won't say, but a bit of an FU, and I'm just going to go, back towards my logical route,
Going to go colon arm myself, yeah.
I mean, people talked about shouty Spock in the cage for ages. That's how, this is how you explain it. It was years before. Well, it isn't, but this is still years before, and it's not just as simple as shouty Spock on the bridge, or even smiling a little bit when. But see, even in Strange New Worlds, the second pilot, he smiles a little bit when he's playing chess with Kirk in the opening. And I mean, it's because it was still baby steps for the character, but there's still, it doesn't totally go away even by then, if you want to look at it that way too. So there's a lot of wiggle room on that. It's yeah. But I just think he's going to be. I think a lot of these. I'm waiting now. I decided, since Corby is this brunette guy and youngish looking, by the time we get to
Irish.
Yeah, and Irish. By the time we get to the Corby we know, I just think he's put himself in an android body and almost died. So how traumatic is that? But it's like, I just think anytime there's now an issue where somebody has to make a leap between the way they play it and cast it now to the original series, it's just, they've just gone through a huge life-changing trauma.
Yes.
It's like the Zephram Cochranes, they just said, well, Zephram Cochrane was exposed to radiation in the war and he just aged rapidly, over Glenn Corbett that we saw in Metamorphosis. Or Glenn Corbett, Glenn Corbett, the companion, de-aged him from James Cromwell's Cochrane. Yeah.
Yes.
So it's one of those kind of answers. That's all you can do.
Yeah. But they're going to have to, I mean, there's more questions like that I sort of find it curious in terms of, stuff like by the time we get to original series, it's pretty clear that Scotty should be, I would say, at least 10 or 15 years older than Kirk. And yet in Strange New Worlds, he's like 10 or 15 years younger than Kirk. It's like, hang on, like Martin Quinn is like in his late 20s or whatever, and like Paul Wesley is like in his early 40s or whatever. So it's sort of like, hang on, Scotty's meant to be like, 10 years older than Kirk, not 10 years younger.
They should flip their ages. They should just flip the actors. Just let Martin Quinn be Kirk now, and Paul Wesley can be Scotty.
There you go.
That would be about right. Before, I think, provided they do something like by the end of Strange New Worlds, if they have an episode where Scotty gets marooned on some planet where time passes at a different speed than the rest of the universe or whatever, and he suddenly ages 10 or 15 years,
and grows.
I think they're going to need and grows taller. Yes,
and he can only survive with alcohol. See, I'm just waiting on this major trauma to make him the Scotty that we know. And he loses along the way.
And I do love that moment in the episode where we had the bachelor party at Pike's or whatever, and you see Scotty in the background or whatever. He goes, I offered him a drink, and he said like, oh no, I don't drink, or I don't touch the stuff
or something, or
yeah.
What are you talking about, Scotty?
Yes.
Well,
exactly.
and poor Sam Kirk, he is somebody is going to die. And I mean, it's grown on me, but I still just go, who's the clunkiest? He does his job okay, but he's just always got the wrong foot forward. He's always like a day late and a dollar short on the humor or the timing or the whatever.
If they wanted Paul Wesley to be on the show, they could have just made him his brother.
Yeah, and kept that going.
Yeah.
He puts the mustache on, he takes it off.
Right.
Yep.
He changes his mannerisms when he's playing that character versus Kirk. It would have been a hilarious homage to the original too.
Oh yeah.
Missed opportunity. I know.
The other thing that kind of, I don't know whether it struck you guys as odd in the beginnings of this season or whatever, but there seemed to be a lot of characters introduced where their names weren't overly apparent. Like we obviously had Ortegas's brother, and it's like I kind of felt like I think his name was Bento or Beto or something like that, but it wasn't really. It wasn't really that clear what his name
13.
was.
It ran by, but at least they said it once. The nurse.
It was very glossed over. We had this guy. They've never said what his name is on the show.
Red shirt number 14.
Yeah, I think that
they finally say it in episode 5. They finally say it out loud in episode 5.
These characters are not surviving the season, dude.
Yeah, it's like
the writing's on the
we don't
wall,
know what his name is.
Yeah.
I mean, they made a point which they haven't come back to yet, but they made a point also of hiring this new bartender for the port galley on the Enterprise. Let's hire this new Edosian bartender. I thought, this is great. Never beyond the episode 2, we obviously haven't seen them again yet, and obviously then there's they seem to be introducing all these new characters on the show with no introduction as to who any of them are or what their names are.
I think they want
initially.
the universe to feel lived in. That's why. This character is probably not going to be on the screen a lot because it's probably more expensive to have her on the screen.
That's what they've said. They got all excited about doing a live Edosian. They filmed this and went, it took way longer than they thought. And it wasn't so expensive. Well, it was expensive by time, I guess. So they made a big deal out of it. And now but that actress is the same one that is the goofy alien head in Space Adventure Hour. It's
Space Adventure on the Last Frontier
in the
with the holding of the eyeballs or whatever
right.
on the sticks and
that makes sense.
This was actually the scene. This was actually the scene too when Mbenga, I think, got slipped the olive with the tracking device on it. I think he came up against the Rongovian. Yeah. I think that sort of happened around this time.
It's the same guy it's the same actor who played the captain on the other one, and people were saying, "What is he? He doesn't have a name now."
There he is.
Yeah, there he is.
Yes.
But the kid, I guess the actor's name is Chris Myers that plays the nurse who shall have no name, who's an ensign and a nurse. And he was all thrilled and came out and he said, "Hey," and so the name of the nurse is Nurse Gamble. But
it seems weird they have to. Yeah, like the fact that he has to actually get on social media and tell everybody what the hell his name is. 5 episodes in or 4 episodes in, and we don't even know.
They might have cut a scene. There might have been a cut line. You never know. It's kind of like Kes and Neelix's breakup was supposed to be a scene that got cut on Voyager, and it just never was seen on camera. But I feel bad for the guy, but just think if it wasn't for social. I mean, there's a lot of it's almost like you have to watch who won the interview lottery to get a few of the writers and producers on, because then you learn things like, it was such a mess to do the Edosian, that because they said they had done every CG, live actors, puppet arms, they had done everything in that sequence. There's a couple of times where it looks like the arm is shifting. Like, is it on the back or is it on the front? What is it?
Well, it kind of almost seems. What's that kind of theater sports game where you put your arms behind your back and then somebody else puts their arms underneath your arms and gestures for do you know what I'm talking about?
Right.
Like
it's old school comedy thing.
Yeah, and it's sort of like, should it, if it's framed in the right way from the camera's point of view, it shouldn't technically be too much more difficult than that in theory, you would think. But I guess there's a lot of stuff that kind of goes into, maybe the person who provides the third arm has to wear a green suit, and then they have to digitally rub them out at the end of the day or something,
Yeah.
But that ending, that was kind of like it seemed like a bit of a prom night ending. It was kind of a bit out of place, I sort of felt. It was kind of like the episode sort of ended with Q and Trelane leaving, and then we get this weird speech from Pike, and then we get into this downtime sort of thing happening, and then I guess the tail
Pike
of the
dancing to
episode
wake
was
me up before you go.
Yeah, it's like, really? Okay. But then it did end well with Ortegas, I think, where she obviously her hand's been recovered after 3 months, and she's starting to go the punching bag at the end of it, which was good with that.
You save some money here.
They did the same thing with Space Adventure Hour. They have this like serious scene at the end. Well, on Space Adventure Hour, it's Spock and Lon. Spoilers. Them kissing. They've been teasing it. It's not so surprising, but it's like the episode goes along and the last tag scene is something totally different, and it's like a setup for what's to come. And it's like they didn't always do that structure. I mean, right? It's like, is this going to be the thing now through the rest of the season? You have to watch. It's almost like the scene at the end of the Marvel credits.
End credit scenes. Yeah. You know what's interesting is you can take all those scenes out and give us a couple more episodes, and it would cost the same. I've been watching this Stargate. I do this Stargate watch along every Sunday at 12:30 my time, PM PST, and I'm on season 2, episode 10. One thing me and my co-host noticed was, when Stargate, like, you get through your hour, at the very end, the conclusion happens, the gate opens or whatever, and then it just ends. Like, there's no wrap up. There's no like, well, that was crazy. Let's do all this exposition to sort of explain to the dumb people that weren't paying attention what exactly happened in that episode. No, it just sort of ends, The whatever the conclusion, end, credits. And you're like, it's almost jarring now, but that's the way TV was made for decades and decades and decades. They didn't spoon feed the audience or slow roll out the credits with something like this. It was just, okay, that's the end, next episode. I sort of missed that, because you're totally right. The conclusion happens in these episodes, and there's a bunch of stuff that doesn't really matter going on too. And maybe instead of just, giving us 10 episodes, maybe give us a full season and just cut all that crap out. Works too.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, I don't think... There's obviously a lot of sci-fi shows that have smaller budgets than Strange New Worlds. I'm not sure what the budget for shows like The Orville or For All Mankind or whatever are, but obviously that would be
that season 3 was for Orville was super high. It was like the most expensive show that Seth Fuzzy Duart ever made. I got to go to the set. It was huge. They built the Orville,
but still cheaper than an episode of Strange New Worlds, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Maybe, I'm not sure. I remember Seth MacFarlane literally telling us when we were doing the post shows. He told us this is the most expensive shows he's made. The stress he has for this show actually turning a profit because of how expensive it is. It makes him.
He put a lot of his own money into season 3, though. I think, didn't he?
He was so worried the studio would be a mark against him because it would be a flop. Because he didn't know how much audience there were, but he wanted to do it right. He wanted to do the best he could possibly do. So I think he put a lot of his own cash and effort and resources to it to sort of decrease the amount of pressure the studio was going to feel. And to be fair, he is right. There is not as much audience for like this kind of for science fiction like this with general audience as there are for other things. So putting a ton of money into it is that's a gamble. Sci-fi is a gamble, generally speaking. So
still, after all these years,
somehow.
But I suppose my point being is, if shows like that are done on, say, $2 million less per episode than what they do Strange New Worlds on, I don't think Star Trek fans would be that worried. Like if you said,
we wouldn't even notice.
Let's lower the production value maybe a little bit of the visual effects work or whatever. in order to have, say, a 16-episode season rather than a 10-episode season.
Well,
Geez,
maybe use the video wall less and use physical sets. Build a physical set, front load the costs on the first couple episodes, use those physical sets, and you don't have to spend money on the video wall for every single episode.
Yeah.
Right. I know people like the video wall. Like, oh, you can do so much more with it. The way they used to, because the video wall, you can tell it's a video wall. It costs a bunch of money. You know, it doesn't look entirely right.
You can tell it's a video wall because it's obviously like an alien vista or a crazy interior, like the pod thing on the go. I mean, you can tell that's not a set.
It's not a set.
It's not, they're not staying in front of blue screen.
And it's obvious. They're like, well, the lighting looks great. Well, to you as the cinematographer, but to the audience, we're like, this is not real. It's very clear. And there's, you know, people think it's cheaper. It's not. It's more expensive than just building a set the first time. Like,
they have to figure out all the dimensionality of like not having it go skewy on camera.
It's incredibly expensive to utilize that technology.
The blocking doesn't throw you in a weird angle.
Which is why Seth MacFarlane built the Orville in a giant soundstage. Like, I walked on the ship. It was incredible. It was a massive Orville ship. The bridge was the ship. You looked out of the view screen and you saw the black stars because he had like the black material with the dots, and then you can flip that down into a green screen, and you can utilize sort of this, I guess you want to call it lo-fi tech, but it's worked for 80 years, so I'm not sure why anyone doesn't want to stop using it.
And look, I completely acknowledge that you can't go back to things looking like, you know, they did where you've just got the planet hell set, where it's literally just a few rocks or a few trees in the foreground, and then you've just got a color wash up the back.
First edition was very TOS-y. That was
but dude, Picard season 3 was $1 million an episode, right? Picard season 3 was $1 million an episode on average.
They did way higher than that. The TNGs were $1.5 million in their day.
No, but Picard season 3, the one that Terry Matalas did, was $1 million an episode. The full budget for that series was like $11-something million.
I know Dave Blass told me that it costs 3 to 4 times more to shoot in LA, the same thing that you shoot in Toronto.
Oh, that was Picard season 2. They didn't shoot in LA for season 3. So there was some resources they definitely pulled from season 2.
They shot in Santa Clarita season 3.
No,
all 3 years that was Patrick's demand that they shoot in California.
Oh, you're talking about the Guinan bar scene, right?
Well, yeah, but I mean the whole
that was shot at the that was shot at the end, and the actual bar scene at the very end, that was not in LA. That was on a soundstage.
Okay, I mean LA versus Toronto.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Oh, I see. Yeah. Maybe you're right.
I don't mean literally in LA. I mean West Coast California versus Toronto.
I see. Yeah, for a minute there, I was like, I don't know if they. You're right there. And Terry Matalas lives in LA, so it makes sense.
Yeah.
But what he told me was the average cost per episode was a little over $1 million. It was actually super budget friendly, and it was the highest rated season of that series, and it was the only Star Trek series to hit the Nielsen charts since Enterprise. So,
I mean, it only proves, I think, that you can do, if the episodes are well written and you got a good cast and everything, you can do what obviously historically referred to as your bottle episodes that just literally take place on board the sets that they've built for the show. If it's well written, they already built
acted, for season 1 and 2. Right?
You can do a good episode and people will watch it and be completely satisfied by it.
Totally.
Yep.
Yeah, I think Strange New Worlds might actually be getting ahead of I guess the term is head of its skis. It's a little ahead of itself. It wants to do all these wonky sort of artistic episodes, but it's forgetting that it's leaving the actual fans of Star Trek behind by doing all these
Star Trek.
Yeah, and you don't, like you said, you don't have 20 episodes to play with it, give everyone Star Trek, and do your artistic, wonky episodes. But so far, every episode, so you have the conclusion, then you have a Star Trek episode. Like, for sure, that was the thing with Trelane with Star Trek, and now it's like wonky and a little bit of wonky, and they're really trying to do these different genre. I mean, like a zombie episode and detective episode. I mean, I don't know. And we're gonna get a puppet episode soon. I don't know.
Next
Yeah.
time.
Hello.
I'm having a
what
hard time keeping up.
This whole thing about
Yeah.
comparative budgets, I meant to say real quick, reminds me of in the 90s when DS9 and Voyager were happening, but Babylon 5 was happening, and they were on a tiny budget. And Alan Kobayashi, that worked in their art department for a couple of years. And the production designer was a theater guy because he was like, he'd been on both. And we did a tour out where they were shooting, and they literally had like flat theater flats with dimensional painting. They didn't have forms just to make this, and they didn't have, it was, there's a big scope to Babylon 5, but they didn't have, they only had a few standing sets, but that meant they basically had a flat storage like a theater would, and they would haul out the things, and, but that was their production designer had to be theater skilled and theater minded and theater budgeted, because that's how that's their budget was so much smaller than a Trek.
And there's a massive fan
But
base.
people love the stories.
Oh yeah,
them, and nobody worried so much about that. There wasn't really a form on that thing. It was just painted.
I think the viewer will forgive people when the story is rock solid. You can forgive. Oh well, those graphics 100% weren't as good. This wasn't maybe not incredible production design or great sets. But it was good enough because the story was so good. I watched a series by Dean Devlin called The Ark. Have you guys seen this? The Ark? So Dean Devlin, the guy who did like Stargate with whatever his name is. Dean Devlin. Yeah, everyone knows Dean Devlin. You guys know.
Yeah.
So Dean Devlin did a series that was on Sci-Fi. It was called The Ark, and it was about these kids, teenagers basically, that woke up on an ark going to a planet somewhere, and there's a bunch of lore behind it. I'm not going to get into it, but I'm telling you, I watched that first episode and I was like, this is the worst graphics I've seen in a TV show since Sliders. I've never seen worse graphics. I mean, it looked like something from like PlayStation 1. I mean, the graphics, it was like it was Sharknado level graphics. So bad. The ship would come by, you're like, what is going on, Dean? You just not have a budget? Well, the problem is he has like 50 people on the cast. So you have this massive cast. So the graphics budget was low. But the story was so good. It was so lore rich. The characters were well written. There was drama. They were three-dimensional characters with actual stories, and you were interested in where it was going. All of a sudden, by episode 5, I've noticed myself not caring about the really, really, really horrible graphics. It's still a criticism, but I watched the crap. I was looking forward to season 2. I didn't care anymore. So the story is like, that is the most important thing, is that the story is good. Do the best you can with the story and the characters and the casting. And I think the production design should come after that.
Yep.
Absolutely. 100%. Yeah. What did we guys think of the, obviously in the episode 2, they kind of started to establish this whole,
romance
between Spock and La'an.
Yeah.
Romance through dance. This is obviously the beginnings of that. Initially when they first kind of, set it up in this episode, they pretty much established it as, I guess, Spock getting dancing tips from La'an so he can then sort of, woo Chapel because she's returning to the Enterprise. Like, it was kind of like, well, I'll give you a few tips here. Here's some dancing moves you can kind of try out on Christine. That was kind of like the setup for this relationship, obviously, which is then a mere 2 episodes later turned into something a little bit more. And this is one of the things I was talking about before, is that, does it, because we've only got 10 episodes a season, are we getting this rapid fire progression of relationship that has to go from 0 to 100 in the space of 2 episodes because we've only got 10 episodes in a season to kind of tell our story? What do you guys think about this?
I think you're right. And that's the problem with these short seasons nowadays. This modern, I really hate this. I'm sorry if I keep harping on this, but I hate the fact that modern television does not give us full seasons of television because you do not have enough time to fully flesh out a character, fall in love with that character. You don't have time to develop that character to the point where the audience loves that character, wants to buy their merch, wants to support them off screen, wants to watch whatever they're in. You don't have the time for it. And so what they do, they have to rush it. Now, for some of these series that are based on like one or two characters, you have plenty of time. But for ensemble stuff like Star Trek and other series,
or if it's a really tight one story arc for 10 episodes, like there's a little bit of texture there. But if it's really basically about the one story, which blows up in your, like when Star Trek did it that on Discovery, I think they got way better at doing that. They had to figure it out. Yeah, and the last couple of years were way better to me than the first couple of years as far as doing that. But here's Strange New trying to be one off, some arcs going, but be standalone shows. Yeah,
so either you're a mini series,
Yes, it's a mini
it's a mini series essentially, yeah. And that's the new format now. It's like, the mini series format, and I don't think it works as well for ensemble cast. I don't think it works so well. Period.
Well, if you've got something with depth and history, and if you've got a Star Trek or something that's part of a big franchise, you either, or the Star Wars series or whatever, you've either got to have a really tight focus, or else people wind up feeling like this. It's like, I want my universe explored. Why are you?
I think part of the problem, I think, is that the 10 episode season works far better on a show like Picard or Discovery, where it's essentially one story, and the 10 episodes is like, I mean,
chapters.
When you're doing a self-contained story season like Strange New Worlds, where each episode is a completely different story. Yeah, exactly. You can't. I don't think that 10 episode season works when you got self-contained episodes. The season.
That's why season 3 works so well. Picard season 3 works well. The characters, you already knew the characters. There was no background necessary.
Minimum 13. We should be getting minimum 13 episode seasons for
100%.
If not 16 episode seasons.
I'm watching Stargate with the watch along thing, and I'm like, oh my god, I got 8 seasons at 20 episodes a season. There's so much there. But the friend I'm watching with who had not seen it, at first he doesn't like Daniel Jackson. Now we're on season 2, episode 10. He's like, I see his appeal. It's taken him 20 episodes to like this character.
To warm up.
How do you like a character when you only have 10 episodes to get to there?
What about like characters like Troy and Riker that took 20 episodes to even start figuring them out?
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, to me, Riker didn't gel until Best of Both Worlds. But
I completely agree with you. Yeah. Completely.
Yeah.
Growing the beard is what they say, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, even way past growing the beard. There were moments, but you guys think consistent. Yeah.
What did you guys think of Killian O'Sullivan in the role of Corby? Did you? I thought in terms of, I thought he did a decent job in the second episode. I thought he had some decent comic timing and everything for this, little more comedic episode.
Yeah, he was.
It's going to be interesting to. It's going to be interesting to see where they sort of take him in terms of like taking him to that darker place that we see in what little girls are made of. Because I guess you got to. They did sort of mention that they were going to plant a bit of a seed for that. So it'd be interesting to see how that sort of throws out through the season.
Well, see, with Corby, you can say that unless they show him, unless they have a tag scene at the end of one of the last episodes where he's dying, and Ted Cassidy comes in and says, "Don't worry, I'll save you," and carries him off. He doesn't have to be that actor. He doesn't have to be him as we saw him in the 60s, because we know that's you just chalk that up to losing his humanity and going into he's a fake.
Do we need to get Brent Spiner in to do a cameo of one of the many Sung past relatives or whatever? So he has some sort of private meeting with I don't know whether it was Eric or was it Eric Sung in Enterprise, and then in Picard it was
Alton.
I can't keep Alton. Yes, I've got Alton and Eric. They started with A.
Those Sung boys. They're just
the Sung boys. So whether we get some cameo from Brent Spiner sort of saying, Dr. Corby, I've got some studies on androids that you might be interested in,
Well, the kid that played this was not a Comic-Con, but the kid that plays the Klingon cadet, and I'm sorry, I haven't got all the names. Sorry guys, don't have them all. I didn't have it written. But the kid who's playing the Klingon cadet said he sat down he called Michael Dorn and had a meeting, pep rally, give me your hints and tricks. And he did it with Doug Jones, just from playing an alien and having to wear the prosthetics and acting through the prosthetics. So yeah, they do their homework at times. I mean,
yeah.
Especially when they're younger and totally new to it. It's like they sure didn't cast on trying to get a vague appearance. Like Paul Wesley vaguely kind of is in the young Shatner mold, but
and his mannerisms too, like the way he sort of moves, and he has a Kirk-like quality to him. But you know, this actor, I'm honestly not going to remember him in like 3 episodes, and it's not his fault.
Playing Corby.
Yeah, whatever his name is.
Yeah, Killian O'Sullivan.
O'Sullivan, yeah.
I'm not going to remember him. I'm not going to remember his name. If you ask me the character's name next year, I wouldn't remember the name. And it's not his fault. It's not the actor's fault. It's just not enough time, you know?
Any other observations or comments about episode 2 before we shift over to episode 3?
Not enough time.
I could just say I really liked the Q Trelane connection. That was the most Star Trek thing I've gotten in a while in this season so far.
There's a nice little Twilight Zone reference in there too from the episode It's a Good Life, where I think they were talking about a cornfield, and that was where like it's the boy that can create any reality with his mind. So, you know, really scary kind of character. So it was kind of a little bit of a touch on the Trelane capabilities, I think, in there, which was a nice touch. Yeah.
Very cool. I like the soundtrack too. The music was very good.
I'll say real quick that the dance, I meant to say this a second ago, it threw me because I don't think they'd hinted at her being a dancer. Like La'an is the hardcore. Now Chrissy Chong, we all know, it sings and dances and does her sexy stuff and puts her albums out. And in Illyrian Kingdom, she had the fluffy dress, which was so funky of a contrast with, you know, traumatized PTSD, Gornified La'an, who's carrying around the mysterious Khan last name that they don't talk about, you know, and she's just so hard-assed and tight. And it's like, okay, I get it. If you want to have this secret part of her and have a rounded out character, it's fine. It just seemed like it came out of nowhere for this season.
You know what?
It seems like the writers.
I mean, I know she's a dancer and they want to play to that, but as far as the character goes, it doesn't seem
but this seems to be a recurring theme because I remember seeing an interview. I think it might have been with Akiva Goldsman, where they basically said they were talking to Anson when the show was started, and Anson said, "Oh, I like to cook. I like to be in the kitchen and cook." And then Akiva said, "Oh, okay, we'll make Pike a big chef, and he cooks for all the crew." And obviously, Christina Chong is a singer and a dancer. Oh, okay, we'll do. You know, it's like, hang on, do we have to incorporate every personal skill? Like, these are actors. They make believe. We don't need to. Do we need to like incorporate all of their personal loves and hobbies in real life into their characters of the show? Because because they do that in real life,
episode was for to surprise you, and then you go back. But you know what? 5 years, you know what I mean? Suddenly you find out that
we don't have time.
A dancing doctor because, you know, Gates is a we all knew. I mean, by that time you knew Gates was a dancer and a choreographer.
Guys, we don't have time. We don't have time to explore all their personal hobbies. We got 10 episodes. We need to move forward. We don't have time for this.
Maybe in 26 land, but not in 10.
Yeah. If it naturally fits in, great. But like going out of your way to explore this. To me, one more thing that I don't want to sound like I'm sexist or whatever, but this is the first time I looked at La'an this episode and was like, wow, she is an attractive woman. I don't follow her off of screen. I've only ever seen her in Strange New Worlds. And in this episode, when she was dancing, I was like,
okay, wow, dude,
she looks amazing. Like, wow.
Yeah, like she certainly exudes far more sexiness than. I'm sorry, Chapel, but yeah, I think like
she really
particularly
does.
I think like on that spectrum they appeal different ways, and that's fine. That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, she appeals to me. Chapel does not. Every other episode, she's like this sort of she's Gorn, PTSD, kick ass, sort of frowning, and then she starts dancing, and you're like, wow,
and depressed and down,
depressed.
Depressed.
And when she's dancing, she sounds happy and elegant, and just absolutely stunning. Very
now they
beautiful.
need to have a show where she talks about she got into dance as a therapy to get over her.
We don't have time, Larry. There's no time.
Well, they did mention in the episode that she's always like had a ballerina sort of thing since she was little, I think. And then now the opportunities come 3 months after the Gorn episode where now the nightmare's over and she can now explore maybe some things that they didn't explore.
And that's kind of that.
Although my initial thought about that,
stunts and great at fighting and great as maybe part of the reason she survived was because she was so athletic and dancerly athletic.
There's linkage there.
Although my initial thought behind that was, okay, I understood the way they explained that to say she was a ballerina or a dancer when she was a little girl, right?
One line.
Okay, fair enough. But correct me if I'm wrong, but she got torn away from her childhood or whatever at probably the age of 8 or something. I think they had, when she was with her brother or whatever, she seemed like she was maybe 8 or 9 or 10, maybe around that. But all of the scenes when we've seen her, dancing in all these clips in the episodes. Correct me if I'm wrong, but her dancing skills and dancing ability is more than what you would expect from someone who was only learning dance up to the age of 8.
Oh yeah, no, listen, dude, my kids were in dance class till the age of 10, and my kid still trips over her own feet. That's not.
Well, now guys, remember, there's 3 months between Hegemony Part 2 and
she was a closet dancer.
Right. I did forget that. Yes,
when she wasn't relearning her dance, she was studying her Gorn. I mean, it was a really intense 3 months.
You're right. Yes. Yeah, dance by day, Gorn by night.
Like it.
One thing they can do if they want to keep the 10 episode thing is maybe like have years go by between seasons. So it would explain more character development that you rush, because they really are rushing this thing, and they're rushing their romance. I don't even know if the romance is necessary. We don't need it. We don't need it.
This is the most.
Is it the
series ever? By the way, I think.
Yeah, and it's almost like they're just. It kind of almost feels like is they doing it because Spock is the only kind of eligible bachelor on the Enterprise? It's sort of like we can't give relationship stories to Pike. Because he's obviously doing the thing with Batel, and beyond. Is there any other kind of?
Well, now you've given Uhura Ortegas' brother.
Yep.
Yeah,
and he's necessary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about Scotty? Scotty could do some things too.
You could, or even number.
Scotty's a lifelong bachelor. He's married to the bottle, David. He's married to the bottle, and the ship is his mistress.
Indeed.
Yeah.
He cheats once in a while, though.
I kind of feel like maybe a romance episode with number 1 might be, something that we could potentially see. Although, although she might be struggling finding a relationship partner. If she continues to style her hair like she did in episode 3,
that was like a Roman goddess or something, or a Roman noblewoman. It was like extreme braid, kind of, what do you call it?
Braid. It just looked like a bike helmet. It looked like a bike helmet or something made out of hair. Or
I really didn't understand that choice at all.
Here's the thing. How could you not notice that? But now that Space Adventure Hour's out, she's in that blonde wig, and I didn't even recognize her at first. I was right. Why is all the rest of the cast in this? And who's that blonde woman who's not in the regular cast? Oh, wait, that's her. Maybe she had her hair cut really short, and that's either the short hair or that's a bad wig they put over her short hair to wear the blonde.
Oh, I actually know what's going on, because she was filming for Doomsday. For Avengers, man. I bet you she had to shave her head or something like that.
Yep. Something was going on here. This is
because she's cameoing as Mystique in Avengers. So I bet you she had to shave her head, because in the original X-Men she had to shave her head. I bet you she had to shave her head for this.
Yeah.
That would make a lot of sense.
Even if she didn't have to shave her head, why would you not? You just put her in a long black wig that's not that similar to a regular hair.
But Nick, remember in every other Star Remember in every other Star Trek show how they constantly change their hair color from hair type from episode to episode. Remember Kirk with the mohawk, Kirk with the shaved head. And, I don't understand the difference of it. Just have one hairstyle.
I totally get her appearance in Space Adventure Hour because that was obviously a homage to Lucille Ball, her character in that, because she was meant to be the producer of the show, and that was obviously a homage to Lucille Ball because she obviously was champion Star Trek to help get the Desilu production.
She was divorced from her former studio owning husband, and but it was a light. The thing I liked about that, and maybe Anson's Gene just a little more, was that they were light. Hers was a really light touch. I mean, she didn't like pout and do her comedic Lucy because that wasn't real life Lucy, but she didn't even pander to what people might have recognized from Lucy's character. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There was nothing real. If you didn't listen to the lines, there was nothing that screamed, this is a very light homage to Lucille Ball. If you didn't hear the lines. Or pay attention.
I didn't know she was actually playing that character. But now that you'd say it does make it better. I actually like her as an actress a lot. I think she's a very good actor. I think Pike,
I thought it was amazing what little bit they gave her in Adventure Time. Yeah.
I think Anson Mount's an incredible actor. There's a lot of incredible actors in this series. They just don't have a lot of time to showcase those skills.
I've just been. I mean, obviously you enjoyed Anson because he jumped off the screen in Discovery and made people watch him and the character.
Oh yeah.
Right.
But this season on Strange New, I'm just like, wow. It's just like he's turned it up a notch. Yeah. Or they're letting him go or something. They're writing it for him and letting him have it. But
and it takes time. Also showing a huge range too. I think the character he did in Space Adventure Hour versus some of the emotional stuff he did in Episode 3 with the finding out about like in this scene with Mbenga saying this is what our medical solution is for Batel. We're going to turn her into a Gorn human hybrid, and him just absolutely cracking it. Like, what the hell are you thinking?
Are we on Kinfori now? Are we officially here?
Yeah,
we're on.
I think we probably need to plow.
We took the shuttle.
We're at the zombie episode.
Yeah.
Z
word.
Yeah. Which I hated. I hated it all.
Oh, you did? What?
The only thing I like was I'm murdering Mbenga. Is that correct?
Or Mbenga. I said Mbenga for years, and they're saying Mbenga.
So I like the Mbenga character a lot. The monster he's referring to, I don't see it as some kind of affliction. I see it as I'm a veteran, and I know a lot of veterans, and a lot of veterans, not me, don't worry, I don't have PTSD, but a lot of my friends that saw a lot more hairy stuff, they have this like what they would refer to as a monster. And there's a guy, a philosopher named Jordan Peterson. I don't agree with a lot of stuff he says, but he actually talks about every man having a monster inside of him, and the difference between a civilized and uncivilized barbarian is the ability to control that monster. So when they were talking about his monster, it was the closest I've seen. Like, I've gone to a couple veteran meetings for PTSD. They talk about that exact same thing. It was on the nose. This guy is a veteran of a war, so he has a monster inside of him, and that monster is that violence. And what makes him a civilized, doctor and productive Starfleet officer is the ability to control that monster. But if he has to let it out, God forbid. And that was cool.
And it was when they did that last season with the setup
that
for
make
this.
me angry.
They had the flashbacks, and he was like, he's just Mr. Black Ops.
He's the most well fleshed out character in all of Strange New Worlds from right now.
In his case, the fact that he does Brazilian jiu-jitsu for 10 years.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, and the fact that he's supposed to be a doctor, but we didn't know anything. You just saw him bop on the original series for 2 shows and didn't get into all this. And it all feels settled. The other thing about this show, I mean, I loved he and Pike had never really had any extended.
Yeah. I like that. I like that you saw them as almost like bros. Like, they are friends. They're friends, and they're captain and doctor, but they're friends.
They had the throwback line about fishing, which you saw him start to go fishing and had to call it off once.
Right.
In a But the thing I loved about it most of all, and it's just a line where he teases it. He's been married 3 times and had a 4th one annulled.
Yes.
That's funny.
And I was like,
Yeah.
whoa, who is this guy? He may be the most compelling one of the whole damn
Listen,
cast.
Every episode, that's every Mbenga episode where I think they can't make me like this character more, they give me something to like him about. Every single time. There's nothing I hate about this character.
Episode, he doesn't do funky, goofy.
No, he doesn't.
Yeah.
But
Even when they put him in a funky place, he's just sort of the straight guy. Like,
I mean, his best funky was McBo.
True.
I love the fact that his name was McBo, like Scottish and French together with the big afro.
Yeah.
That was he did the best with that, I think of it. But those earlier shows where whenever they would do a goofy turn or something, or the Illyrian Kingdom where they're all in the fantasy stuff,
I hated that episode.
he's kind of like,
much.
or the Vulcan crazy comedy shows. He's just
I hated that too.
He's out of it.
The anchor.
But this is his Bailey, and the fact that he's a doctor and has this in his past is like, it's like the reformed smoker, the reformed alcoholic, and now he's the biggest advocate.
Right.
Well, he's the doctor trying to like chase the ghost and heal people for the
It's a great juxtaposition.
He's making amends almost. It's like and
what
you know what's funny?
think?
AA meetings and PTSD meetings are very similar in that regards. Like it's like trying to find. This is what I hate about the episode. I literally hate this character so much. I do not like the Klingons this episode. I know Klingons are supposed to be like overblown and flamboyant and all that and angry. I get it, but like this was so overplayed. It didn't feel like a real person. It felt like someone at a Comic-Con playing a Klingon.
Well, see, I was kind of that way, but she's the antithesis of, she hates her father, and her father was the Klingon who was the brutal Klingon who tried to reform, and they didn't. So she's like the true believer that hates him for, and if she's gonna actually like want to kill somebody, like do a blood, even though it's this twisted, stupid Klingon, right? That's what Pike and Pike point out. Like, you all are so twisted up in your stupidness. Yeah. Now you're gonna kill yourself. Rather than kill the guy,
weird.
Just to avenge.
The logic is flawed.
He had to be this out there goofball Klingon for all that to work.
Yeah,
but to me, it was like, it almost felt like this episode should have been either Pike and Mbenga on a retrieval mission to a planet to get the flower, to get the cure to help Marie, and then like an episode of The Last of Us or an episode of Walking Dead or something, having to run away from zombies to get back to the ship. Or it should have been an episode where Mbenga runs into the daughter of the guy that he killed from episode from season 2. The what is his name, Ambassador Dark Ra or whatever.
Dark Ra.
So it kind of felt like they'd taken 2 episodes and just jammed them together into one episode. So that kind of felt a little bit crowbarred in there to me. Like, it sort of, as we were talking about before, had this show been a longer season of episodes, I felt they would have been 2 completely different story beats that would have happened in different episodes.
I mean, when you get to the climax where they put up a force field to keep out the zombies, so the daughter seeking vengeance in a twisted way can attack the doctor while they're all trying to figure out how to escape from this. It was like, I mean, on one hand, it was like, this is insane and it's piling on and maybe it works. But on the other hand, it feels like it was a lot that you got wasted. But there are parts of this episode. I enjoyed the quiet moments with them. And the goofy thing about it's the moss that's made them zombies. I'm like, what?
I mean, it's not that far away from the fungus from was it the fungus in Last of Us, which was the culprit for the zombification or whatever.
Well, the cool thing about that is that fungus actually does infect ants and make them zombies. So like the idea of that fungus specifically evolving to affect higher mammals that's what makes that series so cool.
Yeah. It's at least it's plausible within science to make that connection. Yeah,
it's pure science fiction. Science fiction has to have some kind of believability connection to science. Science fiction can't just be magic in the future.
Well, right.
Once you put magic in the future, that's fantasy. It just because it's in the future doesn't mean it's science fiction. It's fantasy. So you gotta have some kind of relatable, believable thing to actual science. Like Star Wars is not science fiction. It's fantasy. And that's cool. It's fine. But it's not science fiction. They have fucking space wizards and lizards. So
and yeah, I mean, what do you guys think about obviously the whole explanation of the flower being used, as a cure for Batel's condition? What are we thinking about that?
Well, that to me was very old original series. Like, there's one thing that will cure the thing, and it's only on this one planet. And on one hand, oh gosh, we're in travel range of it, but oh gosh, we've got to jump through 3 hoops to get it.
Yeah, it's the mystery box, classic J.J. Abrams style storytelling. You have to get this thing to fix this thing. I like it. I mean, it's been around for a long time. I know I said J.J. Abrams, but he made it really popular. But it's been around. That kind of storytelling's been around for a long time. It's a little cheap, but it works. And if something works, there's no reason to break it. Don't fix it when it doesn't not broken.
Yeah,
and it's very Star Trek.
And does it feel like I mean, I kind of get why they're going in this direction, but does it feel like if you were actually a medical professional in the form of Chapel or in Benga or whatever, and saying, "Oh yeah, well, okay, we're going to be happy. We're happily deciding that the what was the name of the flower again? The Chimera blossom or whatever it was.
Yeah, Chimera, which is the thing. Yeah.
I mean, obviously, to say, okay, well, this is our cure, that we're going to turn you into a half human, half Gorn hybrid. How is anybody? I'm just still a bit flabbergasted about how is anybody going, oh yeah, that's fine. I'm happy with that. Really? Everybody's happy with this as a solution. Batel's happy with it, and Benga's happy with it. We're going to turn Batel into a half human, half Gorn, and everyone's okay by that. Was it just me, or was everybody kind of a little bit like shocked that this was actually what they determined as a solution?
They have to be happy with it because it's a story point in the future, bro.
Yeah. One thing, it's been months, right? We had 3 months between the first 2, and now this is a little later. So they've been living with it for a long time, and it's not a specified, there's a spectrum of outcomes that could happen. So they're going, look, this is all we can do. Let's just keep slogging along this road.
Right.
And he's the one and she's made peace with it. He's the one that, it's there to point up and let Pike be emotional and, throw a tantrum and get pissed off. But no, I was fine.
Why didn't you tell me?
Yeah. You get into that. It gets.
But why couldn't they? Sorry, you go, Larry. I was just going to say, why don't they? Why wasn't the transporters perhaps used as a bit of maybe a measure of separating out the Gorn DNA from that? I know initially the Gorn infection could travel under the transporters, but now they're aware of it. They know how it's constituted. Couldn't this be a way of separating out the two entities? We've seen this before, albeit yes, in later seasons, in future timeframes, but maybe it was beyond the capabilities of transporters in this time period. But it would have been good to. I mean, she could have even been put into a transport buffer, then put into stasis.
Yeah,
to
they
buy
already
some time
established.
to get
They already
resolution.
established
Well,
that, right?
his daughter, Mbinga's daughter, right?
Yeah.
They've established that.
By the way,
transporters can be used.
By the way, so he was married. This is just blew my mind. So if he was married 3 times and had an annulment, one of those 3 wives was probably his daughter in the buffer's mother.
Right.
But he'd had her.
Or not. Who knows? He gets around, bro.
Well, that's right.
He's a player.
And the other thing that kind of struck me as odd as well was, okay, Batel had the allergic reaction to the stasis serum, so they couldn't put her in stasis.
Right.
But it's like, hang on, but Mbenga, you've just been putting your daughter in the transporter buffer for all of season 1. Okay, you can't put her in stasis, but why not put her in the transporter buffer like you just did with your daughter?
Yeah, I don't understand that. It's like they forgot that they just did that.
That was a long
That's the problem I have with a lot of the modern Trek too, especially Strange New Worlds and World Discovery. It's like the writers forget what they wrote the previous season, sometimes the previous couple episodes, and they just sort of bypass possible solutions for something that's going to serve them down the line, and it feels a little lazy because that was a solution. So if that was a solution, they need to specify why we can't utilize this as a solution because we want to use this Chimera thing for a future plot line. Okay, so establish that.
Even if it's a cheesy excuse, at least let us know that you at least thought about it and you were aware of it.
Yeah, give us something.
Yeah.
I mean,
because now the fans will eventually at some point somebody somewhere will come and there'll be maybe a discussion or debate about here's the 4 things we can do to retcon that, and eventually, just like everything else, eventually something will percolate to the top, and it's what everybody will, or somebody in a comic or a book will come up with an idea, and people just
especially Star Trek fans. Like there's entire channels built on YouTube, built on just theorizing with headcanon how things connect together properly, like correcting writing issues.
Guys, I'm so old. I remember when there were 8 of us that did that in the whole world.
Yeah.
My mail. Once you found each other.
Yeah.
And do we think as mentioned earlier, do we think this is the direction they're going with for Battelle? That
I don't think it is, but that'd be fun.
You don't think it is?
For your sake, Nick, I hope they do that, just so that you could be the guy who said it.
You got the image already. You got the art.
Yeah.
We will all applaud you. We will repost this. Nick called it.
You called
Sexy
it
Space Bunny.
I thought of this at the at the Moss show. I still think of the Moss zombies. But if you thought of that right out of the gate, season 1, episode 1, then my hat's off to you.
The Chimera flower I thought was a cool thing because, I mean, that, like we said, science fiction, right? It's gonna be based in science. I mean, we're still like in the real world. We're still finding plants and species and stuff in the Amazon forest and the ocean
on Earth
that has huge medical breakthroughs today. That we're still finding compounds and stuff deep in the Amazon that would help us in modern medicine,
or volcanoes, or deep ocean,
volcanoes, right? We're still like, even though we know all the elements, we know all the atoms, we still are finding compounds of that in nature that are massively beneficial to humans. So I think it's really cool that's science fiction. What's not science fiction, I think, is all the other stuff, but. Like I said, I didn't like the Klingon.
That's a broad spectrum.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, as long as we've gotten a box like that, then I'm happy. Okay.
Yeah. Space Adventure Hour. What did you guys think of the whole Last Frontier, like homage to original series aspect of this episode? I heard a lot of people say, I like Paul. Now that Paul Wesley's actually kind of doing his best Shatner impersonation, I kind of liked him a little bit more as Kirk.
Closer to Kirk.
I thought when I first watched it, I'm like, did they forget they own Star Trek? They don't have to make a parody. Like, it's right there. They own it. They own the franchise. I think it would have been cooler if they just did like TOS, just classic TOS. Why not? I don't see a problem with it. Like,
my one save, as with all the weird schizophrenic divide with Discovery's premiere, and I'm not talking about all the purely toxic people that were racist or misogynist and all that, but I mean the purebloods who were really upset by a lot of everything from the Klingons to a lot of stuff, and a lot of things I can go, okay, that's fine. Actually, it makes more sense for the Klingons to have racial diversity. They have a huge empire, yada yada yada. Okay. That came together, different planets and the houses and all that stuff. That's fine. And I was fine with, but it's like, if it was conceptual canon, like having a secret foster daughter in the Sarek household just gets weirder and weirder and weirder.
Right.
And everything you learn about Vulcans makes
Skybok, Burnham. Yeah.
That was them trying to connect a character that people didn't really like to a character that we did. And it was obvious.
But eventually that's fine if they just wrote it and didn't have her cry every time. But that's fine. What got me, you'd say, oh, he's just being anal canonista, was, long distance holocoms and touchscreens. If this was really supposed to be teen, what I finally came, my fail-safe fallback was, in the novel for motion picture that Gene himself wrote, there's a little introduction by Admiral Kirk, and at one point he's saying, there's been so much weird interest in my 5-year mission, with this crew and the Enterprise, and they've become so lionized. I think it's almost like the dime store novels from the Wild West. It's like, I think our adventures and exploits have been exaggerated wildly, and and in my head canon, I'm going to go, okay, starting with the motion picture, there's such a huge leap in everything else start with the original series, but it's so beloved. In my head canon, it's going to be the original series may have to be those fictitious adventures that the world saw and made them heroes. You know what I'm saying? It's like I'm trying to find a way here to have everything work, and also that it doesn't. Even the strange new Enterprise doesn't lead into the tech of what you see. They're trying it. They're trying to go there a little bit, way more than Discovery ever thought about. But
Larry,
still not going to.
What you could do
at least stylistically, at least stylistically, there are enough commonalities that you
see.
can
But
go,
and then that's the thing.
DS9
Relics, the holodeck that Scotty goes into in Relics,
Here's
it all
idea,
was
right?
a match for match with what we saw. So that's what's.
And as long as in my opinion, as long as the story is really good, the viewer, the fan will 100% forgive inconsistencies 80 years ago. And like, in fact, in DS9, remember when they go back in time and they ask, "Are those Klingons?" He goes, "We don't talk about it."
Yes.
Well,
Because
there's no way to explain this. So
They're from the north.
They
that was
wanted
great.
to explain it, but they realized it was going to bog the story. They tried to find
course.
something they could deal
Yeah.
with in 2 or 3 lines, and they couldn't. So they did that, hoping it would go away. And all it did was, now after that line, you couldn't say it's just budget, guys. Shut up. After that line, it was very much a real thing, thing.
But sometimes those explanations are the best ones. Like that, the line from Worf saying that, you're completely happy to go along with it. You don't need any more explanation than that. It's kind of a bit like in Picard when they explained the difference between the Romulans who had the V-shaped foreheads and the ones that, they're from the north, oh, okay, they're from the, and that's all you need, I think.
And it wasn't, I love that he went by. It just flew by.
Yeah.
She goes, "Oh, stupid Northerner," and nobody said anything about because and I was like, wait, did they just finally, because they'd learned in 20 years, they'd learned how to do that. It's like, yay, that's all you had, just throw out 2 lines. We're not stupid. The audience is a lot savvier and smarter on
as long as the story's good, we'll buy it. Give us something to buy. Just give us something like the transporter thing. Just give us an excuse. Just give us an excuse that we can put down in our headcanon as the reason why you didn't utilize that technology versus
we've got science advisors and we got tech manuals and people will run and do that. It's the thing is it going to be consistent? That's the thing.
Or we can't use the transporter buffer because her chimeraism or whatever is so advanced that it can't recognize the 2 different patterns individually. Okay, boom, done. I don't need a lot. Just give me one reason real quick. Because now the whole time I'm thinking, guys, the transporter buffer. I'm just like screaming at my TV, the transporter buffer. You just did it.
But see, every once in a while, like, and Mike and Rick in their tech manual for TNG said this, the Pulaski show where they use the transporter as a magic device. And it's like, well, if you can do that, if you can restore the aging with the transporter, can't you bring back dead people? I mean, opens up the bottle and they never did put any, they just kind of quietly never talked about it again. Like, stop, don't ever do that again. Yeah, exactly.
Not to mention that the transporter probably kills everyone every time they go through it, but then that's a whole different discussion.
Everyone that goes through it destroys them and makes a whole new version of that person.
You're going to do that, and one day you're just going to give the Borg some reason to have an end.
But for me, it was kind of like this holodeck, and I'm looking, going back to technical manuals, Larry. Where does the holodeck fit in a Constitution class build? I mean, like I was looking for large spaces. It's kind of like, did they put it like connecting to the shuttle bay or cargo bay? Because it's like fairly multi-deck. Well, in terms of the size of it.
If you had seen, well, that's true. I think they just took a cargo bay and must have rigged this. But here's the thing, as I got into on this week's Second Opinion with Dr. Trek, Gene wanted to have, third season, that there's a scene, is it Alana Troy? There's an early third season scene before Gene totally checked out, where they wanted to introduce the idea of having a holographic simulation rooms. But the whole purpose originally was to fight homesickness. Like, if you could go back to your home planet while you've been away for years out in deep space, it would be a mental health thing, right? So they were talking as the show was maturing and they'd come so far in getting the basic background down. Gene was like, well, of course they would use holography to do now, whether they, or training. Now, whether the people are going to go and indulge their favorite porn or their favorite book or their favorite whatever that we got off onto. I'm
cleaning up after those sessions.
But
I would be in there doing almost.
That was on
illegal
Lower Decks,
things.
wasn't it?
Well, what is it on
Borderline
wasn't it
illegal.
on Lower Decks?
the Vulcan
wasn't-
priestess and the whatever, on the Quark was selling the holiday. But anyway,
I'm pretty
Field
sure there was an episode of Lower
Official
Decks where
Blue Light
Boimler and
Yeah.
Mariner were cleaning the jizz off the walls of the holiday.
Yes, yes.
Weren't they?
which
Get
is
the
what
blue
everybody
light out.
said when
That's
they first
exactly what people would do.
when they first
Come
said
on.
Holodeck on TNG's premiere. One of the lead-up things was like, "Well, how's that going to work? And what are they doing in there?" But what I'm
Why is
saying
the
is
floor so
Gene
sticky?
It should have been it should have been for training. It shouldn't have been for recreation.
It was a
My
lower deck
opinion.
thing to have to clean up. That made perfect. But
Bring
Gene
your own
wanted
tissues.
Gene wanted to have that on the show and mention it, but they just didn't have the budget. And there was a scene. The scene that starts off with Uhura is playing the Lyret or Spock. Anyway, they're all clumped around, and it's either the beginning of the Kolos, the Medusan show, or it's Alana Troyes. But there's an early third season where they wrote and scripted a scene that was supposed to be in the rec deck, not the rec room, but the rec deck, like the animated series tried to do, but they didn't have the budget to do it. So it just wound up being another lounge with tables and plants and everybody sitting around lounging. But they had intended to show you a baby version then, because Gene wanted to do it. And then when Steve Poe wrote The Making of Star Trek, all the stuff you didn't see, Gene is like, no, it's there. And he says, well, on deck there's the little, but it wasn't like huge rooms that you could go do, like an epic Cecil B. DeMille novel in or something, novelization. It was personal things to keep for mental health that you could train with maybe, but mainly it was for you to go back and experience different things that you missed because you're on a sterile starship in the middle of space. And then Franz Joseph Schnabelt put that into the blue. If you go through the blueprints, not canon, but if you do, he took Gene's idea as recorded by Stephen Poe. And on the blueprints, it says Visicom holographic units. And they're not big rooms. They're little like small cubicles where you're sitting in a kind of like an enclosed 70s chair. And you're
Like a
in a
flotation
thing.
tank.
And yeah, it's like, yeah. And there's a few of them on the ship in different, not on the place he has it in his book, but they're like in the pile. Anyway, they're in there. And part
More like Ready
that
Player
was all
One.
the intention. Budget didn't get them there. They got written out, but it was the intention way before. And that's why the animated series, it was no big deal to go, oh, yeah, let's just go down to the rec room in the holodeck thing. And that's what saved it as 100 years before. I never understood why Picard and Riker jumping around. Wow, this holodeck thing, it's amazing. It's like they must have been real, what's his name?
Isolated.
They must have been real Mounties to like never go there until that point in their lives. I don't know.
Old
Oh,
news,
also,
old
David,
news.
Yeah,
that-
because
this Enterprise is way
That's the
bigger.
history. Huh?
I mean, that's a lot. That's the real reason. But when I look at it, I go, well, this Enterprise is like way bigger. Look at Captain Pike's quarters.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got like a full kitchen and a living room.
Yeah.
Like that's a much bigger ship. If
Now we have a refit coming.
Mm.
Pike's going to do
Fly
something.
away.
they're gonna make it
ruin it.
smaller.
Pike is going to do something to ruin it for Kirk and all other captains in Starfleet.
yes.
I mean, dude, Pike has a fireplace. I'm like, what?
I think they just retrofit a cargo bay for that, for the
Right.
experiment. So they're obviously they're
Yeah.
going to jump in and rig it, and it's a short term.
That makes sense.
I liked also the way that they said about the energy requirements, having like that's normally for a star base, and also that it did actually have some real life impacts within the episode when they're doing the what was it, the star that they were exploring or whatever it was that they were
The
monitoring.
neutron star.
The neutron star. Yeah.
Yeah.
And when they do that, and then at the end, Scotty says, well, it better always have a power source separate and blah, blah, blah. They've pre-retcon Voyager, which is what people criticize Voyager for doing. It's like, why are you rationing food replicator usage, but everybody can bop around in the holodeck and suck up all that power? And they said, well, it has a dedicated power source. And you're like, this little science spy ship had a dedicated power source for its holodeck? That was all for training? Is that what that was? Well,
And
now
can't they unplug that and plug it into something else?
Oh, no, they're not compatible. They made it very clear for multiple episodes that the holodeck power source is not compatible.
Yes.
They want. I like that they're like, we cannot allow them to utilize this tool.
Well, and they, as what was I going to say? It's almost like, it's almost like whenever something like this happens and it's a prequel thing that you worry about how, it has to be explained. They just Ferengi it in Enterprise when it's like they actually had Ferengi first contact 100 years before Picard did, but they didn't know it. It's like, they didn't tell us their names, so we didn't know how to file it away.
Well, that's the same as the same theory as Trelane. When they never mentioned Trelane's name, so that yeah, exactly.
They Ferengi
same
this
principle.
Isn't quite Ferengiing, but it's almost the same thing. We're going to stick that in a box and put it away for a few years. But the other thing is complexity. Like it is in the animated series on screen, and I don't want to discount it because it's animated. But it was very simple. They did in the animated basically what Gene was thinking. They went in for different landscapes, and then it tried to kill them. But they didn't go in and have this huge complexity of fictitious and personality pattern. There weren't even any other characters. It was just like landscapes. So that would be way simpler, and not as complex as you saw. So maybe Scotty's recommendation was not to have holographic simulations, but don't do this idiotic complex shit where you're putting real people's patterns into characters, or you're having entire novelized, whatever. So that's what I'm clinging to.
Yeah, and Geordi
until then, just use the bowling alley.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which is also in the blueprints.
Yes.
Even though people thought he was getting drunk, but
yeah. What did you guys think of the whole the holodeck program, the Amelia Moon detective story angle for this? Like a sort of a Agatha Christie type, murder she wrote sort of routine.
Well, this moment reminded me of somewhere between Clue and the Scooby-Doo opening titles when they all hunch up and look up. I thought this was, for what it was great. And the cast obviously had fun. And like Celia is doing Oprah playing that character. I mean, it was just strange. And then, I didn't have a problem with once they got into it. And the fact that it was a fake Spock, not the real Spock. It was and that was a twist. And I know people are think about the Moriarty. It's a villain that can
it was a cool twist. But it's the second I heard that resolution at the end, I immediately thought of Elementary, My Dear Data, and the fact that Geordi, asked the computer to create a villain that was capable of defeating Data, not a villain that was capable of defeating Sherlock Holmes, which was exactly what La'an did, when she would design the program here, so it's like, that's kind of the same.
So
we've forgotten about that. We haven't.
Throw that, do not come back to this, please. Make sure we close this. There's no more holodeck. They threw it into the back of the warehouse because I don't want to see an evil version of Spock coming out of nowhere, a la Moriarty. I think we're done.
It's in the crate next to the Ark of the Covenant. That's where
chuck it in a black hole like they did that thing from Discovery season 5. Yeah, just chuck it into a black hole.
Yeah.
Put it next to the Borg baby that Voyager still had tucked away somewhere, supposedly. The one thing and I didn't get it. I thought it was weird when she first goes into her program and she's talking to Spock, and Spock is being very stiff-rod, but you don't think about it because it's okay. It hit me the first few minutes before I knew the ending. Watching it the first time, I thought it was funny. And I guess that mansion was a location. I'm still trying to figure out what mansion that is. It must be somewhere around Toronto. But I kept thinking, this can't be a built set. This can't be a built set.
Yeah, it would have had to be location,
And all the actors in their get-ups are posting, Rebecca and I think Melissa, they're posting themselves in their outfits out in the sunshine against like Italian palace looking railing. So I think it was a location. But
I think that location though, there are multiple locations just like that, like on the Universal lot, on the Fox lot. There are older locations that were used for movies from like the 50s that are literally perfect for that.
Yeah, well, they're in
Toronto.
So no, and there's some in Toronto. Yeah.
But
there's lots in Toronto like that.
If you watch the opening, and it was like it's subtle, but after 2 or 3 times, I was like, are they just like saving money or what? Because it is a little grinding when they use modern terms, right? Like arch and in program when their little verbiage is even the exact.
And it wasn't really even an arch, was it? It was just a doorway. I thought that was a little odd that Spock called for the arch. It's like, hang on, it's just a door that you guys came through. It wasn't the whole TNG style arch,
Yeah. But as it goes on, notice how when Spock leaves her, he just walks down a hallway.
Yes.
Most of the times,
Yeah.
he just walks away. And it's
Yes.
like, and I kept thinking, are they just saving? Like, they can't even like have him walk off camera and run the audio, you know, the
sound effect. Yeah, the sound
like,
effect.
they didn't
Yeah.
even do that. And I was like, and so it got to the end, and I'm like, I wonder if that was supposed to be clues to show you that wasn't
Yes.
really Spock leaving the holodeck. It was the part of the program.
Yeah.
Throwing that out.
Interesting.
It was good to see the actors also in, I guess,
just thought it
similar.
was cheap budget at the beginning.
Yeah.
Probably. But it was good to see the actors sort of, I guess, getting their teeth into different types of characters, kind of like, you know, Deep Space Nine's Far Beyond the Stars episode. It was kind of had some similarities there where you sort of get a little bit of a different perspective, gives them something to get their teeth into. So I thought that was quite interesting. Getting to see some different accents being used, Jess's original Australian accent or Adelaidean accent.
Right.
And that.
Yep. Well, her character was named Adelaide. Adelaide.
There you go.
Shaw, I think
From
it
her
was in
hometown.
the episode. So yeah.
From her hometown.
And I think Mbenga was doing a British accent, and obviously La'an was putting on an American accent for Amelia Moon's character. Yeah.
Which she would drop and go back and forth. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what got crazy was the characters on Space Adventure, and what was it called? The
Last Frontier.
Last Frontier is the name of the
Yeah.
show. So they had their character names there, the three of them or whatever, and then the characters, the actors' characters playing those also had all. And I was like, okay, what? So I saw somebody saying, well, Lee Woods is D. Forrest
Kelly.
Yeah, it's supposed to be. But
Nice play on
but
that.
none of this was. I mean, some was a little more on the nose, like you were saying. It's your franchise. Why don't you mock it completely? But something and they were using red alert klaxon, and some of the sound effects were exactly the same, and a couple of things.
Yeah.
But there was some that was just like more 50, like more Captain Video, Rocky.
Well, what actually impressed me most is did you notice that they actually deteriorated the quality of the audio so that it sounded like sort of shitty 1960s microphones that they would have used back in the day, and the actual quality of the dialogue was like degraded in that kind of original series kind of style, just as a kind of a byproduct of what microphones sounded back then.
Yeah,
I thought that was good.
It wasn't just on the nose. It was evoking it. Switch. And then the bloopers at the end. I was like, okay, how much of this was scripted and how much did they really improv? And to hear Jonathan,
I got the impression that I reckon they would have just done a whole bunch of let's just improv a bunch of stuff and we'll chuck it over the end credits. Yeah.
So I have one little tiny story here for this. That was so like when they shot this a year and a half ago. So we don't have dinner together all the time, but one day I wake up and I have a text from Jonathan Frakes. And he says, Larry, do you know of any good video easily like YouTube with Gene? Like you see him, not just a recording. And I was like, yeah, there's several. There's the Yellow Vest interview and there's the bits he did for the Cage when they showed it, remastered. And he said, well, we're doing this recreation of a Hollywood mystery, and Anson wants to do a takeoff on Gene, but he doesn't know where to look. And I said, oh, okay.
Search YouTube.
I
like
how on YouTube and found
Anson, how hard is it to search YouTube?
Thank you. He's busy one. He's a high-paid lead actor in the series. And I said, well, here's this and this and this. And I said, well, that sounds like a hoot. I was like dancing around, but not going to poke. And he says, yeah, it's huge fun. I can't believe I got this one. And I told him, and he says, thanks. And then he came back and said, Anson says those are perfect and blah, blah, blah. So I was like, so I knew this was coming before they'd said it. And then when you started seeing the trailers, it was like, oh, that must be the thing, except it wasn't in my head. It's like, well, what is the thing they're doing here? Because there's the fake show and then there's the murder mystery. And then I said, and so he's doing, and it's not he's the producer creator, but it's not just a dead on of Gene, but he's doing the 70s fat old Gene thing with his hands. That was hysterical. And they had his hippie Gene 80s thing. Yeah. So, and drinking all the time.
He had a bit of a whistle about his accent as well.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay. Okay. Well, yay, Anson, you did your research. Got it.
He did.
I was just dying.
Yeah,
These scenes,
and
I
the
was
gut,
dying.
the gut they gave him as well.
Mm.
And then when he turns on a dime when they're on set and he gets pissed off and he yells at him, you think he's this doddering old, alcoholic, but then he's there in the moment and yells at the actors later on. Yeah. Well, was that his con moment? I don't know. But he yelled,
yes.
not just this, but even before that. And I was like, ooh. So again, I was like really impressed with Anson for what it's worth. Even in a parody like this that everybody clearly had fun with. But
Yeah,
I'm like,
absolutely.
is she like, is that supposed to be Carmen Sandiego they're trying to evoke? With that,
it was very Carmen Sandiego, wasn't it?
Yes. Yes.
So it's weird to see the reaction of this though, because it feels like half the world loved it and half the world thought you've only got 10 episodes. What the hell are you doing? And
yeah, well,
was
it's
in
kind
that
of
camp.
it's sort of similar. Yeah, it's the division is similar to Subspace Rhapsody. It's either love it or hate it kind of thing, And obviously we end with the whole Spock La'an relationship
kiss
thing going on, kiss going on. Yeah,
She looks really, really like that really made this episode good for me because she looks amazing. I'm actually starting to develop a little bit of a crush on this character. It's sort of crazy. She's really hot when she dances. It's crazy.
And I think the fact that they obviously changed, they changed her hair and everything. So, her hair is a bit softer, like not that really kind of rigid,
right.
How she wears it in those.
She wears
like
the way army people wear it.
Yeah,
it's funny because like
button down,
the military, like perfect. That's why she wasn't attractive before. I never found those people attractive.
Yeah,
you should see the video she has out for all her albums. She does some wild music videos.
I'll check. I didn't know that existed. I'll be checking that out after this.
It sounds like you need to check it out.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've already written that down.
Cool. And we're probably running. Are you guys happy to keep going a little longer, just to briefly touch on Starfleet Academy?
Yeah.
How long? Whatever you want, dude.
So obviously that brings us up to date with Strange New Worlds. And obviously last weekend at San Diego Comic Con, they dropped the teaser trailer for Starfleet Academy. What did you guys think about the trailer for Starfleet Academy? Did you is this something that kind of sparked your interest, or is it something that's like more Discovery era stuff, maybe not so much, or what are your sort of overall impressions?
Not a fan. Not a fan. So, I'll give it a try when it comes out.
Of the era, or what you saw specifically in the trailer?
What I saw specifically and the era. I do not like the far future post-Discovery stuff. I do not like it. I do not like it, Sam. I do not like it.
If it was the same trailer, but it took place in the 25th century, just sometime after Picard, would that have then sparked your interest?
It would have been more interesting, because it's taking place in the future. I know that's in the future, but that's so far in the future. I see it as almost like Elseworlds. If it was taking place after season 3 of Picard, I'd be like, okay, cool. We're moving forward with the franchise finally. Whenever I say that, there's always detractors that goes, what are you talking about? Discovery's moving forward. No, that's not the same. I'm sorry, 3,000 years or whatever, in the year 3,000 is not moving forward. That is so. There's so much history being lost that we haven't even seen yet, that we've been promised for 30 years. So, not the same thing. You just skipped all that so you wouldn't have to tell the story and also be saddled with 50 years of canon. And then we know that. We know it was a lazy thing, pushing them all the way to the future like that. So it's hard for me to watch. It feels like an Elseworlds, like a what if version of Star Trek. Although the content was also bad. I don't think I want to see what is that show? Riverdale. Star Trek Riverdale. I'm not interested. So
I mean, I get the fact that the 20-somethings demographic has been the demographic that I think Star Trek has failed to capture, because you kind of, I think, got people of our generation, the Gen Xers and so forth, are obviously gonna tune in being lifelong Star Trek fans, and I think you obviously captured a bit of maybe the younger audience with Prodigy, but obviously that 20-somethings audience is always been the demographic.
And
that,
I would say Lower Decks too.
Yeah,
there's a lot of
struggled
cosplay at cons. Yeah.
It seems to be the demographic that they've struggled to get. So I get that they're sort of making an attempt to appeal to the 20-somethings demographic. But yeah, it's. I guess in some ways they're also trying to not only appeal to the 20-somethings demographic, but by putting Holly Hunter in it, by putting Paul Giamatti in it, by putting Bob Picardo in it, you're also trying to kind of tick the box with
with the older
with the older fans as well. So I'll reserve my judgment, I guess, until I've seen episodes. But there's obviously, I'm with you, Brian. I think there's something about that 32nd century that just is so far in the future and so far removed from every other generation of Star Trek that's come before. It kind of feels too far off and too distant from everything else.
Well, the thing that made TNG work, even though there was a whole chunk of fans that at the time that thought, you're just slapping Star Trek on this and you're making us forget Bill and Leonard and Dee and all that. And I was like, no, shut up. They're not rebooting and recasting. They're going 87 years in the future. But it had been 20 years since the original series had been on movies. Yeah, but it was like there was enough time for the real world production technology and real world cultural shifts and history and new things to come up that would be story. There was enough time to go 100 years ahead and have it be fresh, and you could talk. The 800, it's like we haven't had enough stuff happen since you started Discovery to make. It's what you're saying. Like 800 years, you're just going to have watered down. They might as well be 50 years later than what we saw.
Same thing.
50 years, not 500 or 800 years. But I will say two things. So I did see some interview when they first announced Academy. You were talking about magic, Star Trek magic, and that far ahead. Somebody said, so what this has bugged me. Like, what is the big deal about having nacelles that detach? Like, aren't they like really vulnerable? Like, what is the point?
Yeah.
If you don't have a physical attachment line, then what is the point? Now, if you got some wacky doodle future engineering science, that's cool. But like, do you? Or did you just say this visual effects guy said that looks cool and there's no reason to? So I saw this interview and Alex said, well, for one thing, we will explain why that's a thing. And I'm like, okay, there's tiniest of tiny little check marks. But the one thing I'll say about this, and the trees are on its own look good, and the kids were excited and all that, and you've got ulsters in it and blah, blah, blah. Somebody who has worked not as a paid like Paramount CBS staffer, but a vendor who's worked on the shows in a pretty key way, but low key, since before Brian quit Discovery, said he is the biggest critic when it needs to be criticized of Discovery, and he's been there to watch the ups and downs and evolution and all that, and the other shows too besides Picard. And he said that he is the most excited for Academy as in any of the modern shows, the live shows. And he said a year ago, told me, Starfleet Academy is the show that Discovery always wanted to be and couldn't. So I'm gonna. So again, I'm being cautiously optimistic. What'll be ironic is if all the political changeover with, I don't mean just political Republican, I mean like politics running a studio and new people versus old people and all of that.
Yeah, didn't Skydance just buy out Paramount?
If they don't renew Alex's contract next year,
and
everything he did ends. And they either get somebody new to run Star Trek TV, or they decide to do movies and let TV rest for a while, or they've got somebody in the wings, or they don't have somebody in the wings, or they do renew his. But whatever, it would be ironic again if we all go, "Oh my God, Starfleet Academy was the best show of all the modern live actions," and you ended after 2 seasons because of things. I mean, that would be the stupid karma of the whole thing.
Well, can I answer about that?
I only got something that everybody loves. I'm saying if everybody loves this, but it's the last one, it's like it'll be like Enterprise. Why did Enterprise go away when it finally got good?
Yeah.
Or why did you kill the original series because it was the best demographics than anything else on TV? But that was a
Les Moonves thing, though. He hated Star Trek and he hated Well,
Sci-fi.
He's
Yeah.
sci-fi.
But if it had made money and blown up, he wouldn't have. I mean, he hates sci-fi unless it makes money. If it's something made money, he would do it. But yeah.
Yeah, so the thing with this, so Skydance did just buy, they're merging with Paramount or buying them out or whatever, right? So that's happening. So the new bosses are coming.
Finally, yeah.
Right. Alex Kurtzman's contract's coming up, and Bad Robot is in talks with Amazon, which means why would they be in talks if he's not planning on renewing his contract with Paramount? More than likely, if I had to guess, my opinion, I don't think Alex Kurtzman renews his contract. I think that they're flirting with Amazon for a series of shows the same way they were flirting with Max before Kurtzman got busy. So or HBO. So I think that they're going to be going to Amazon Studios for a couple, pitching some multiple shows. When it comes to the series itself,
Because Bezos is a massive Star Trek fan.
He was in what?
Yeah, Bezos isn't running Amazon Studios, but he still has a lot of influence over Amazon Studios.
He was
right?
a cameo in.
Yeah, and Amazon made a point. Amazon Studios made a point where in one of their green letters, like 2 years ago, that they always want to have a fantasy show, a science fiction show, a spy show, a drama show, a comedy show. They always want to have something from every genre in development, whether it be a movie or a series. So science fiction is part of that. Notice they didn't say horror, they didn't say romantic comedy. Like they're going for the hard genres. And science fiction was one of the hard genres that they locked in as something they wanted to have in their studio in development at all times. So it would make sense that Bad Robot, who is known for doing this kind of science fiction stuff, might, is flirting. And they are 100% in talks with them, because my Amazon Studios guy that was telling me about the Stargate renewal, that's not happening, sorry guys. He was Revival, that's on the shelf. He was saying that secret Bad Robot was flirting with them when Penguin and Parka was backing out, which was people that did The Expanse. So you're losing one science fiction group and you're gaining another. Totally makes sense. When it comes
you're saying Bad Robot, not Secret Hideout, because Alex is.
I'm sorry. I meant Secret Hideout. Yeah.
Okay. Secret Hideout. Yeah.
Yeah. Secret Hideout. I always get them mixed. They're so interchangeable with me. Yeah, I meant Secret Hideout. So if you're losing Penguin and Parka, which the guys who did Expanse, it makes sense that you're flirting with another sort of comparable production company.
Well, isn't the reason that the fifth season of Strange New World is only going to be 6 episodes long is because that's the amount of episodes they reckon they can produce. If their contract does not get renewed by Skydance, they can produce the remainder of season 4. They can get about 6 episodes done of season 5 at the time of the contract.
They just wrapped 4.
Yeah. So I think they can get 6 episodes done of season 5, and if at that point the contract says, "Nah, you've had your go, Kurtzman, you're out. We're getting somebody else in," they can make a clean break at that point.
They could still see somebody point out his contract is to be the showrunner of the Star Trek Empire. If there's an existing show running along and they decide they want to have more, they could still go and hire. And it's just not. He's not the decider of Trek. His contract is, for that.
Yeah.
But, why did they give Academy a second season before no one outside the studio had seen the first season yet?
It's because Alex Kurtzman is pushing it forward to guarantee it. Because, and that's another reason why Alex Kurtzman is set up as the showrunner with Noga Landau. It's not just Kurtzman. So when Kurtzman leaves, he can leave behind Noga Landau. He wants to guarantee that Academy has a chance at success.
Yeah,
that's why I think he did that. Like, I'm not renewing. I won't be here to defend this. I'm greenlighting everything right now. I'm making sure everything's set up right now, and then I'm going to leave behind Noga and let her work. That's
my point is they could independently renew any of these shows if the new leadership came in and wanted to. It didn't have to be the fact that his showrunner contract was up. That's
true, and Noga Landau is there as co-showrunner, which means
it might be highly unlikely. If it depends on what's the attitude, how gregarious are the new people running, and what do they even keep? They say they're going to keep the streaming channel and not just buddy up with somebody else or let the TV Star Treks go to Hulu or whatever.
Well, they actually have to keep Paramount Plus for at least for the next 8 years. There's so many contracts out there that are pending.
Well, then, there you go. Yeah.
There's hundreds of contracts.
Yeah, not merging, but just deal bundling.
Right. If they wanted to get rid of Paramount Plus for some reason, like you're talking about breaking a lot of contracts and leaving a lot of money on the table with all the licenses that they just paid for last quarter. It's crazy. It would be insane. They won't do it.
So there you go.
Sorry.
I also got to say that Paul Giamatti's character is a half Klingon, half Tellarite. Apparently, the Klingons are almost wiped out after the burn, and they're all busy running around having babies with other species,
other races.
So, like, you go to
diversity.
Klingons, they're all like hybrid with other species.
Because that's what Klingons do, right? They're known for that.
Anyway, if it's an excuse to go to Teller Prime finally for the first time in 60 years, I'm all for it.
I want to see Andoria. That's what I want to see. I want to see the blue. I want to see the.
You only saw the
blue ice planet. Yeah.
I'm still mad that Hemmer, who can survive in sub-freezing temperatures, died when it was established that the Gorn eggs could not survive in sub-freezing temperatures.
Yeah,
you had a perfect way to save that character. Perfect. It fit with his. It fit with Enterprise. It fit with his lore. You already established it. I'm sitting there like, no, he's not dead, guys. It's fine. There's no way he dies. He's gonna go out in the ice and. Oh, he fell off. He's dead. Oh, are you kidding me? Dude, it drove me nuts when he jumped off. I was like, just go out in the cold, dude.
Yeah.
Speaking about Paul Giamatti, I don't know about you guys, but I don't look at his makeup for this character and see anything that looks Klingon or anything that looks Tellarite about him. He hasn't got forehead ridges. He doesn't have a pig nose. He doesn't have tusks or anything like that. It's like
800 years in the burn. And that's what happened.
I think that Paul Giamatti didn't want to spend 7 hours in the makeup chair every morning.
He wanted to be
easy prosthetics. Yeah.
I
want to be able to breathe and emote.
What's his name from? He wanted to be Chang from 6. He wanted to be
Plumber.
He wanted to be Christopher Plummer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Who said the same thing?
Now, it's like I think it's an interesting notion making him half Klingon, half Tellarite, but I just don't see. I don't look at him and I don't see Klingon or Tellarite in his makeup. So
I don't see anything there that look like that.
I was trying to figure out who had the flangy ear back there thing, and
like his ears look more like Rayner's ears from was it the last season of Discovery or whatever? When he was playing was it a Kelleran or whatever?
In
that show. The other thing we're going to go is looking at the let's have a look at the starship, the USS Athena from Academy. Here's a photo of, no, hang on, that's the wrong hang on.
The USS
Teflon. Like Voyager was a spoon. Yeah,
there we go. That's the right photo. It just made, like, David, you made that point, David, when we did our little wrap up on the Academy trailer. It just looks like a frying pan or something.
It does.
It did. I've noticed actually since though that there's these wing things that come out from the side of it, from the
are they attached or are they separated?
No, they seem to be attached, and they actually rise and fall. It seems like when it's landed, they sort of depress in a docking sort of configuration, and when it's actually in flight, they come up and they sort of form part around the saucer. That kind of wasn't. You can see it moving in the trailer, but it just looks like a bloody piece of space Teflon. Seriously, it's the most unsexiest piece of freaking metal I've seen.
Yeah, it looks like a boring version of a Constitution class primary hull. I mean, or an A, or a Constitution 2, but whatever. That's not probably.
And actually here we go, David. If you zoom in there, look, there we go. Is that what you're talking about? Like, obviously, maybe the handle of the frying pan or whatever is made of programmable matter, and it rotates backwards to kind of form nacelles or something.
It's the Inspector Gadget ship.
Yeah.
Go Gadget.
Go Gadget ship.
So Holly Hunter's a lanthanite. like
this
hell yeah.
this bridge, this bridge.
She's
I've
half
heard
land tonight,
this.
is she?
I've heard this bridge described as looking like they've miniaturized the crew and put them inside a toaster.
With the heating element.
With the heating element. Yeah.
One of those like retro toasters you get off Temu from China that look like from the 50s, but they're mostly plastic.
This looks like an open space inside a Vegas hotel casino.
It does look like that. It looks like you've
got all the banks of the
now I can't unsee it. It looks like a casino floor.
And the masquerade area at the Rio used to have a track where they actually had like flying boats on ropes that went around on a track, and people would sing and throw shit. It looks like that's the ceiling track for a flying boat that goes around.
It does. Looks like Fremont Street. That's what it looks like.
Yeah, or Fremont.
And obviously no other chairs on the bridge there for other, first officer or counselor.
It's
just like
it's
just
the 32nd century.
There.
They don't need counselors. They're all perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, this new trend. They're not. Yeah, their mental health is.
It's so not 80s. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. I'm sorry. One more thing about this. I don't like the mixing of the Klingons. I feel like that's not what Klingons would do. But again, I don't know anything about the 32nd or 31st.
There's new species. The kids are all different. I haven't memorized yet. I mean, there's some that are different.
A lot of different races we haven't heard of, new established races.
Every series brings along new species. That's not a weird thing.
Yeah.
But they've also got the Jem'Hadar and the Klingons sort of merging in this character. I think it was Commander Lura Thok or something. And female Jem'Hadars to start with, which we haven't seen before. And, we've also got, a Klingon mix in there. And I think this character sort of interested me. Like that could be kind of like a bit of a Worfy, very low down human type character, I guess, but very strict as well. But it could be one to watch. Yeah,
this is going to be no doubt the Professor Snape, the Professor Snape character. The teacher that everyone gives everyone a hard time. No
Ketrasil White dependence either. They seem to have got rid of that.
800 years, guys. 800 years. Yeah. So apparently, in the short time when United Earth was broke out of the Federation, within a couple of years, but they did come back. I think the Discovery finale established that Earth had already. They were getting all the old planets that split off after the burn, and some of them had been Emerald Chain planets. But like Vulcan and Earth, Navarre and Earth and Trill were all coming back to the Federation. So, but they've thrown this academy together. I'm like, are you in the buildings from 180 years before, or whatever it is, or did you build new buildings in a year because you can because you're got
because this is a photo of the campus grounds. That's a photo that we saw in Discovery when they visited Earth and they all went back and they stood under the big tree and everything. So so that's a photo of the campus grounds as seen in Discovery. So in theory, it shouldn't look that different from what we saw there. You would kind of think, but it's quite.
Unless the Breen go back for a second visit to San Francisco, bit of landscaping,
Well, you notice they also have solar panels on the roof because that drove me nuts. Just like it drove me nuts with the windmills in the first season of Discovery. The solar panels on the roof. I know this is like really nitpicking, but it makes no sense to have windmills and solar panels when we have matter antimatter reactors.
Hey, Brian, you realize the entire Golden Gate Bridge is covered in solar panels?
Yes.
That
drives me nuts.
The Golden Gate Bridge, totally covered in solar panels.
I know. It drives me nuts. It makes no sense. That makes no sense. We have matter antimatter.
Don't want antimatter located on Earth.
Oh, God.
Brian, they're too afraid of the magnetic failures, and then it would,
Larry! You're giving them reasons to explain it.
If they're going to be in orbit, it's okay. It just wipes out like Mars did. But if they're, if you park an antimatter on the ground, it makes people nervous. It's an environmental thing. They had protests and everything.
Oh my God.
We probably should start to wrap it up there. We've probably gone a bit over time today,
no,
but it's been a fun show. Brian and Larry, what do you guys got coming up? Any plug your channels and everything? What's coming up for you guys?
LarryNemecek.com. I still do Trekland Tuesdays live on Tuesdays at 1 Pacific, which lets a lot of the global world in join us live. Second Opinion, when there's fresh Trek, I do a reaction show about 3 or 4 days later after the first wave dies down. And it's apparently dead, but my granddaughter, Cadet Alice, and I are still doing Cadet Alice and Dr. Trek Watch Prodigy. And I still have Portal 47 for the backstage fans to jump in with a subscription package, and Trekland Tours if you want to come tour some of these places in SoCal. We'll work out a day tour with you and do that.
Where are you in SoCal?
Now I'm over by Riverside, but we were in Burbank, Tahunga for 20 years.
I'm in Orange County.
Oh, okay.
And I worked in LA. Probably the same as you. We're probably in the same neck of woods.
Yeah. Burbank Tahunga for a long time, and then a year ago we got a chance to buy again, just a little. Yeah. So I plan it right. I can get back in an hour and a half.
I was working back and forth between Paramount and CC lot, and then I moved to Orange County and left LA behind because I'm tired of driving 2.5 hours to work every day.
Yeah. When you can't.
Brian, have you and Shane got anything coming up for your?
Yes, we have a new documentary coming up on our main channel, the Popcast. It was actually supposed to be out this weekend, but my brother really gets behind when he can't figure out how to write, how to like really finish a story. And if you've watched our videos, it's not just here's all the information. He tells a story from start to finish, and he's a very good writer. Well, he did finally crack it. I read the script. It was really good. He started voicing it, and we're about 3 parts away from finishing the voice stuff. And then I should be editing it this week, which means it'll come out this Saturday or Sunday. And it's great. And I can't tell you what it is, or he'll hunt me down and take out my testicles. But it is good. It's from the 80s. Remember, we started in the 70s. We're in the mid 80s right now. We're just going through, and we've jumped around a little bit because movies coming out and stuff. But we started back with Alien. And we're moving all the way through all the best science fiction and fantasy and adventure hits. And this one is one of my favorite all-time films of all time. And it has 2 of the most legendary directors and producers of all time in all of cinema history that created this one thing. Larry knows what it is I'm talking about already.
If you're saying 2 people working on it, I think, yeah.
Yes. And so this is one of my favorites. And no one's going to figure it. It's not something we've done before, but it's really awesome, and it's going to set us up. And this will make our 15th full-length documentary. So come check it out this
Sounds
weekend.
like a lot of fun.
And we just finished the Superman trilogy, so go check that out too.
Yep.
Thanks, everybody, for coming along today to be part of the live stream. It's been a fun show. As always, you can check out what videos David or myself have got coming up for Sci-Finatics. We'll see you guys on the next stream and see you in the next video. We'll catch you guys soon. Thanks for coming along.
Thanks a lot.
Bye for
Trek
now.
well, everybody.